It's like there's separation of church and state, but churches are still going to get special treatment. It's like, no, that's not how that works there, my friend. You got to
Yeah.
choose.
And with that, we are live, actually.
Oh no.
Oh shit, what a fun topic to go live on.
Just talking about the Catholic Church. No, I'm kidding. So hello, welcome to YARP episode 40. In week, 2 of Spooktober, we decided to cover 2 horror movie anthologies. Is that what it's classified as, Ninja?
I guess, technically.
For anthologies, they're just kind of tied together within a framing device, but without the framing device, you would still have just as much connection between the different things.
Yeah, fair enough. So these 2 movies were VHS 1 and 2. And before we get started with anything, what number would you give 1 and 2?
Oh fuck.
It's kind of hard to give him like an overall number because like you can rate the individual stories, but
Okay,
if you're
then
gonna try and average it out, I'd say VHS 1 is sitting at around like a 3 or 2 maybe, and then the second one is up around like a 4 or a 5 on average, maybe. I definitely rate the second one higher because the first one, for a couple of reasons we will get into later on, it's just hard to watch. Like just sitting through it can be difficult just because it's got issues.
yeah.
also definitely leans on whatever your tolerance be for found footage movies.
Well, yeah, I'm trying not to lean on that too much as well because just personally, I can't stand found footage stuff. Like generally, and a lot of my reasons why are definitely coming up in a few of these. Some more than others. Some of them do fine, where it's not a constant barrage of just static glitches and shaky cam.
Yeah, I'm not
But
I'm
yeah.
not the biggest fan of found footage. But that I don't know. I'm the weirdo that's just like, is it too much to ask for a steady camera angle and just keep going with the story?
Yeah, I'm not
Is it
sure
too much
why
to
it has
ask
to be
that they
both.
actually hold the camera the way that people actually hold them when they're recording things, and that you don't have it? Okay, those old camcorders that most of these VHS tapes were made on, they weren't good. They weren't very high quality. The tapes you would get, they were a little bit glitchy. They would kind of sputter a little bit here and there. But Jesus Christ, the versions you get in this movie, it's just constant. Like literally turning it a couple inches to the left will make it glitch for a second. It's like it's too much, and you can see that it's fake a little bit. It's like it's beyond what is reasonable, and that's kind of what pushes it over the edge a little bit. That and the whole the standard shaky cam stuff where I'm supposed to be terrified because I don't know what's happening, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be terrified of, so I'm just like, I'm gonna wait until I can see something.
Right. What would of VHS 1? What would you say was your favorite of the stories?
Probably the opening one.
Yeah,
Or
I
the
was
ending
gonna.
one. What was the ending one for the first one again?
October 31st, 1998. The haunted house.
Yeah, that's the drunk guys they go to. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. That was actually pretty solid the whole way through. And that one, because he was like his Halloween costume was a nanny cam, the camera for that one was actually quite steady and held in place on his costume. So the footage he got was actually comprehensible. So yeah, that was quite good. So yeah, I think the first one from the first movie is probably the best. And then from the second one, it has to be that Indonesian one, the cult one. That was really good.
I'm not a huge fan of the way that one ends. Like it has such a strong middle and even ending, but that last line I feel like was a bit too much, like a step too far.
Eh, for it being the final thing that clearly just pushes his mind past breaking point, I think it kind of worked. Like, obviously, it sounds a little bit goofy and even more so out of context, which is why it is absolutely going to be a meme in a future video. I still think in context it actually served its function.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of like what was my least favorite. I think the zombie one from the first movie. That one kind of pissed me off.
I don't know. I think the slasher one, the Tuesday the 17th, that might have been the worst. It was probably the one we had the most actual complaints about,
Which one was
like
that
just as
one?
it was happening, because it's the one where she takes them into the woods where like her friends were all killed because she's planning to use them
Yeah.
as bait, and like she has no weapons, and all she was planning to do was to lure the guy into the traps, but they don't work because he's some teleporting ghoulie who could be two places at once, but she's still planning to lure him out with. It's very confusing. It's very stupid. It makes no sense. Everyone talks weird. So, like, all of the things that the other ones in these anthologies get right, this one didn't even manage to meet that bar, and it still has all the problems it had otherwise. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it
well,
just came out very weak.
one of the things about that one that really kind of irritated me was as it fell into the bear trap, like one of its ankles, and she just goes, "Why can't I see you?" And she just runs up to the
Yeah,
weird
like
glitchy guy
runs
with the
right up
knife.
to its face. And like with the camera, so the one thing you should never do in a horror movie is just have the thing make weird faces at the camera. And this thing
Mm-hmm.
on the camera we're seeing, it appears like just this weird glitch man. And she
Well,
runs right up to
that's
him like,
how
"Why
she's seeing
can't
it
I
too.
see?"
Yeah, that's the whole thing about that one is that's how she's seeing it as well. Like it's she's literally being attacked by like a real life glitch.
Well, okay, still that would why would you run towards that? That sounds horrifying.
No, I agree. Like her running up to it is stupid, but the whole like her saying why can't I see you, like that would kind of be a general question I would want to know. Like what the fuck are
I can
you?
absolutely understand wanting to know. But I think of all the ways I'd try to find out,
Oh yeah, that would
not at the top of my list.
yeah. That's where we have to be like, nah, no.
There
Yeah.
has to be a better way.
Trying to
Trying to
think.
think.
One would
Go ahead.
Oh,
one would
I
think
got.
there's a better way.
Oh, I got nothing. I was about to. I was about to come up with a question, but I got into a bit of a coughing fit, so my thoughts kind of just yanked out of my skull.
Oh,
Painful.
Ugh.
so
Would you guys rather do further breakdown tisms, or would you rather look at the video?
this might be one we're gonna need the video for because it's
Yes.
Yeah,
other
it's
than just
very
going through the
difficult to
stories one by one.
explain on its own. It's yeah, and I get the feeling that both videos are going to talk about them overall, and so we'll kind of refer to like individual entries as they come up. I I don't know if there's any particular ones we want to highlight because I think we've kind of covered what ones we think are the best and worst, which
Right.
and a lot of the reasons why we've either said or we know that they're going to come up over the course of the rest of the coverage. So I think getting into the video, fine.
So, Chris Duckman has been on this channel before. It's when we watched Alien versus Predator with Jake. He has a review of VHS. He has
He does.
he has reviews on all of them, but I specifically sent Ninja this one. Is just like see what he has to say because at the time of me sending him those videos, he was the only one who had seen VHS. So let me get everything going, and we could Chris Duckman, he's all right, I guess. I have very limited exposure to him, either through EFAP or through this show.
I have very limited exposure to him because most of the time, why would I bother watching a Chris Duckman video? And it's mostly just because a lot of the time he has very little to actually say about things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Most
Okay.
of the time, his takes are very vague. Doesn't really say much.
Either vague or milquetoast and not really adding much.
All right,
Yeah.
let's see what he has to say about VHS.
I want to talk about VHS tapes. Let me show you something. Just can't throw them away. So many memories. VHS is a new found footage style horror movie, and I bet you that right there, I have lost you entirely. I've lost it. You're gone. You have no interest in this movie. And you know what? I don't blame you, because I felt the same way. My friends were telling me about this movie and they were saying, you know what, Chris, it looks dumb. I know it's another found footage movie. Chernobyl Diaries was just terrible. Some of these people I knew who saw it, they were like, this movie is actually scary. It's actually well done.
I mean,
my reaction to every...
Okay, right there.
So
Was this movie released during that period of like a couple years right after 2010 when found footage movies were just fucking everywhere? Because I remember that being a thing. It was a problem.
Yeah, it kind of became like the go-to horror genre there for a while.
Yeah, because it was so cheap to make, and because, horror movies thrive on being easy to do and cheap to make, there were just a lot of them, especially after Cloverfield.
I was going to say, in JJ, utilizing his good old mystery box, used found footage with Cloverfield. He's like, what, do you guys know that, that the end of Cloverfield, that thing didn't even die?
I remember so little about Cloverfield because I actually thought that movie was shit and I didn't understand the hype.
I didn't get it either, which was when even when seeing it in theaters, like, I just don't get it. Now it's Chris.
Everyone saying this kind of stuff was basically always the same. It's basically Tom Hardy from Lawless, if you've seen the movie yet. I just had no interest at all, because I am done with...
Was that a joke?
I think he laughed at something that he thought to himself in his head but didn't say out loud. Is that what happened?
I don't know.
Giving him the benefit of the doubt, I'm gonna say yeah, I guess. Like, he had a thought, and the thought amused him to the degree that it caused him to laugh, but he didn't bother to share with the rest of the class.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, are you having funny thoughts in there?
found footage horror
I hope you
movies
brought enough for everybody. And, the rest of your YouTube career.
Oh no.
stupid, and I'm just done. But you guys know me, I try to watch everything, and I try to do it for you guys at the same time. And to my surprise, this is the scariest movie I've seen all year by far. This movie disturbed me, it bothered me, and last night when I went to bed, I was looking in my closet. I'm not kidding. I was looking in my closet, and I kind of moved the door to the side so it wasn't all open for me to see as I laid there in bed.
Okay.
You made sure to look under the bed, too. I mean, yeah, there are plenty of disturbing things. Like, I did have to look away from the many throat slittings throughout that entire...
I mean, there's some gore here that's done really brutally. And that's something I guess we didn't point out at all, is that even though it is found footage, there's a lot in the movies, both of them actually, even the first one, where they don't cheap out. It's like when gore does eventually happen, it's like they go through hoops just to make it look as visceral and brutal as possible. And I actually really appreciate that. It's like even like things that aren't like over the top, like someone's face getting blown off, like just a cut in someone's arm. It's like they make it look as real as possible. And when they combine that with the fact that it's like over a Skype call, It's like it compounds and you fucking feel that shit. That's found footage shit at its best, is when it feels more real. And that's kind of like why you should usually be inspired to make something like this. But then you have other times where it's not so good.
Yeah, I really liked the yeah, the more I think about it, the effects in the Skype call one, like that was one of the ones that really made me uncomfortable, because I don't know if we talked about the ruins on Yarp, but when Ninja and we watched it together, and hardly any of the actual scares were getting me, but all of their shitty use of first aid techniques, that's what did it. So when she was carving into her arm, and it's just like, okay, stop it, no, lady.
Well, that's the body horror that movie, that's what's supposed to scare you. Is like, oh god, that's
Right.
gross. That's
But then in that exact same one, you have like the thing where he cuts the fetus out of her, and that just wasn't scary at all.
Oh yeah,
Because
that
it
looked
looked really rubbery and fake.
Oh yeah, he's holding it like he's holding like a fucking like toy.
Yeah, and for both of those to be in the same thing is actually a bit of a blessing for my point, because it means I can actually just hold them right up next to each other. So one of these, you felt that shit. It made your skin crawl. Whereas the other one, it looked fucking tropey and cheesy as fuck. It's like, and just completely non-effective. It's like you don't feel anything. Even in that scene, it's like you're too busy trying to like focus on, okay, are those weird glowy children supposed to be ghosts or aliens? Oh, okay, so it's more of an alien-y thing. All right. What are they doing that this whole setup would be like beneficial in any way? And then yeah, at the end you do kind of get the reveal that she's been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. So the horror of that short is that what if every fucked up wild thing that a paranoid schizophrenic believed was happening to them actually was happening to them? That's the horror twist there. But yes, some parts of it just hit so much better than others.
Yeah.
That's how much this movie got under my skin. The movie is essentially 5 short films all rolled into one. It starts out with these guys, they're searching this house, they're looking for a very specific tape. As they're searching for the specific tape, they put them into the VCR and watch them to see which one is the one that they are apparently looking for. Then we see what they're watching. And what we get is the strangest tape collection that some old creepy guy who lives alone could possibly own. And naturally...
So, I would like to point out, so, the people in the, like, prologue / just framing device, they're absolute scum. Like, at the beginning of the movie is just like showing them how degenerates they are.
If you've ever grown up in, like, any kind of small town, and you know how everything always just looks shitty and abandoned and broken, these people are the reasons why. They're those, like, lads who... they were unruly teenagers whose lives never went anywhere, so they never grew up. So now they're 20-something-year-olds who will spend their weekend getting shit-faced in an abandoned house and giggling at each other while they smash windows. Those guys.
Oh, and also...
the inevitable crack addicts.
and also grabbing ladies to show off their
Yeah.
tits.
The way, instead of getting jobs, what they do is they harass women on the street and sell the footage. Like, it is literally their existence and the way they make their way in the world to be scumbags. So you just spend the whole thing waiting for them to die, and they don't die to the very end.
Yeah, it feels like it suddenly becomes like a bit of a slasher thing where it's like, oh yeah, you guys can all die and I won't give enough of a shit.
But then it's like, then we go from that, which is the framing device, into the first of the anthology, where the characters are two very similar scumbags. So at first it didn't even register me that a transition had happened, that now we were watching one of the videos.
Mm-hmm.
Because the framing device is also done in found footage. So it will, on its own accord, randomly just glitch to a blue screen, and then we cut to the next thing that's happening. And they do that like from different scenes within the framing device, and they do that going to and from the anthology entries. So it's needlessly confusing. At least in the first one. In the second one, they do it a lot more cleanly. Like, you
Right.
always know when you're in the framing device, or versus when you're in one of the entries.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of the time we spend outside of looking at the other tapes. So it's when they're in the basement and they see somebody running around. Oh, and each time, like, we cut back and forth, the old man may or may not be in the chair.
Well,
It's
there's one
spooky.
time that he's missing in the chair. Then it's after that, I think we get, like, the blur moving in the background. And then later on, someone finds him upstairs and where he might have killed someone. And then they find the headless body, and then they just kind of laugh because these aren't actual human beings that you're supposed to form any kind of attachment to.
Right.
Strange movie.
When you have a film that is basically a collection of short stories, some will be better than others. Two in particular stand out greatly, the first and the last. The first one is this part.
Hey, it's actually...
See what I mean? Like, it's weird, but he actually has some takes that are pretty on point.
And it's extra weird because normally, like, he would get very close, and it's not just Chris Duckman, but anybody we cover, they would get really close, and then they'd say something that would come across as, like, wild shit. And it's like, yeah, there's two in, like, the first VHS movie that really stand out, and we're like, yes, we agree. It's like, yeah, the middle two, and we're all just like,
Oh.
what? But those were the worst ones.
It's like if he was talking about Love, Death, and Robots. And the best two are Ghost Fish and then the Michael B. Jordan one. It's like, oh!
Wait, which one was Ghostfish?
That was the one with
Oh,
the Ghost Fish.
the salesman and his son in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't even mean to sound like that much of a smartass. It's just like, that's unfortunately like what it was about. It was about the Ghost Fish. And it was
But no,
aptly
it wasn't
titled.
all actually called Ghostfish.
Yes, that's just what it was.
Yeah,
both
so
called.
that's not being a smartass at all. It's like, I just literally forgot that it existed and had to remind myself.
Party that these guys are having, and there's a very creepy girl there who keeps watching them. That's all I'm gonna say. The second one is a second honeymoon that a couple's going on. They're like in the mountains or whatever, and they're hiking, and another strange girl is watching them. Now this second one, that was the one that I felt was the weakest. Then we get this college trip with these guys.
Okay.
See, I don't
Because
know if
I
I agree
also
with
thought that this
that.
one was very weak, but I don't know if it was the weakest.
Yeah,
I don't think it was worse than the glitch one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
no.
not.
Or the zombie one.
I think it's just that its payoff was
Wait, which
really
one are you referring
disappointing,
to?
but the build-up was fine.
The zombie one
Which
comes
one are you
from...
referring to? What? You keep saying the zombie one.
Is
Isn't
that the
one...
cyclist?
Yeah. Sorry, if the cyclist is
That's
actually
two.
its name. Oh, yeah, okay. Then I'm being an idiot.
Guys are going to this lake, and there's these two hot chicks there, of course, that must disrobe. Horror tropes, cliches abound during this one, trust me. And then there's this strange, like, virtual digital killer that's like infecting their camera or something. It's pretty creepy. The fourth one is this Skype conversation between the girl and a guy, and she thinks that her apartment is haunted in some way because she keeps hearing things, and we get to see them have this conversation while they try to search the apartment to figure out what this is.
So I kind of liked when we had the fucking, like, kid that was slowly creeping in and then closes the door.
I mean, that's kind of your usual thing you get with any kind of haunting movie, where the things that the ghost does don't make sense for anything that the ghost could want. So you just end up with this thing, and I get that a lot of the time, especially in horror, you're trying to make the motives and machinations of the monster be completely incomprehensible. It's a thing that cannot be known. But then you can't make it something as human as a ghost. You know?
Did it read when it closed the door, or?
No.
Okay.
There was actually very little of that shit. It's like regular horror tropes, like the jump scares and the sound cues and random reeing. Those were actually all kept to a minimum, even in the bad ones.
Yeah, it
It
does
was
rely
so
on the...
conservative with things like sound cues. It was actually refreshing.
It does rely on the teleporting trope, but that's kind of because most of them are ghosts. So
But it's either if they're ghosts or there's some other reason for it. Very little actually moves in a way that's actually contradictory to what it should be. Because you'll have
Right.
things like any story where it is presented like it's a supernatural being, then you find out it was human the whole time, and that only raises further questions because it was doing very blatantly supernatural shit beyond what's explained in the movie.
Well, I mean,
Whereas in this, if they're teleporting around, it's because they're either a weird glitch man or there's some other reason for it, you know?
I mean, bring it back to last week with Malignant. Gabriel had like teleportation powers essentially.
And super strength.
Yes.
Maybe eating fucking fetuses was like spinach and Popeye for him.
Last one
Ding ding.
is a Halloween party in which the people who are going to a party choose the wrong house and they find some incredibly creepy stuff in there. Now, all the while, there's another story going on in the house where the guys who are actually watching these VHS tapes are. And there's something in that house that is scary as well. And as these guys take out the tapes, you can look, like in the room where they last were, stuff has changed and moved since the last time they put in the last tape, and you're like,
well, there's the face.
I like to imagine that's what he was doing in the movie theater, just actively just holding up his hands and just kind of like jittering around. The most that would change would normally just be either it'd be the disappearance of the viewer and the old man, or just the viewer would disappear, or just the old man. I'm trying to think of any other details that changed in between tapes.
Well, I mean, they kind of cut from different things happening in the house while the guy was watching the tapes. So, like, it's also out of order as well. Remember that. Because they'll have, like, footage of him putting the next tape in, and then it'll cut to them down in the basement when they were searching for the tapes the first time. And it's actually towards the middle of the movie that you get them going into the room with the TV and him actually telling the guy to just sit there and go through the tapes. So it's out of order as well. So you can't really nail down what doesn't change throughout. But the absence of the old guy, that one is actually set up and telegraphed. Because towards the beginning, you actually see the old guy in the background when he's putting the tape in. And then it'll cut to him after one ends and the old guy isn't there. So that one's actually set up and paid off.
Yeah.
That wasn't there before. That used to be there. Why isn't it there now?
I don't know why it was the slight, like, weird little musical sting to the why isn't that there now?
Where is it? Two things happened to me during this movie, and I'm incredibly ashamed to admit them, but I will to you guys because you guys are awesome, and I'm going to tell you what I did. Number one, I actually looked away. I looked away at a party.
So he looked away. Yeah, there's plenty of times where at least I kind of, like, I glanced over. Mainly because I was eating, and I was like, I'd like this to remain in my stomach, thanks.
I mean, yeah, it's like if you're in any way squeamish about gore, or you actually have any particular kind of gore that gets you. It's like, I know some people who will watch the most horrific shit, not even blink, but as soon as it's to do with like fingernails or teeth or eyes, that's when they just can't hack it then. This movie's going to push your button. Whatever your button is, at some point it's going to be pushed, because even though it's quite conservative with its gore, when it goes in pretty hard. And I actually do appreciate that.
Yeah, I had to look away quite a few times because one of them, I've got a couple horror weaknesses: eyes, teeth, and neck. So with all the throat slittings, it's just like, ugh, yeesh.
I mean, going for the neck is like a very basic thing in a lot of violent media. So having the neck be one of your things, Jesus.
Yeah, and it bothers me even like when I'm watching like a Stallone or Arnold movie, and he just slits someone's throat. It's like, I don't get it either. It's probably because like it's a slow death for the most part.
It's a slow death, but it's quick to do to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Of this movie. I have never done that ever during a scary movie. The sad thing is nothing actually.
Thank you for the demonstration as to what that looks like.
I mean, this is the most expressive I think I've ever seen this man. Ever.
Is that I'm trying to think because the only example I have is either the Jehovah's Witness one or the AVP reviews, and I don't remember how expressive he was then.
Happened. I was just anticipating something about to happen. I felt like such a little girl. It was so annoying. I've never done that before. And number two, this is the big one, all right? Now this, I can't, I'm so afraid to admit that I did this, but it's true. I watch horror movies all the time. I am well versed in horror movies. I've seen a ton of found footage movies. Most of them are not good. Some of them are. If it's not used as a gimmick, it works as a plus.
I think that's fair. Most are not good, but occasionally you do come across something that's pretty neat. And that even applies to this anthology where clearly most, if not all of them, are pretty confident filmmakers and storytellers.
Yeah.
But you get some stinkers in here all the same because it's just the nature of the beast.
This movie, it worked as a plus. And during the Skype conversation short film, I won't say what happened, but there was a part in the movie where this happened to me.
I think I know what that might be. It's when the kid's creeping into the room. And you know why it actually gets that much of a reaction? Why it does that? It's because it doesn't have a fucking cheap as bullshit fucking sound cue that tells you when something's happening that you're supposed to be scared of.
It's either
It lets
that
you
or it's
discover
the
it on your own.
medical scene where she's,
Where she's getting cut up.
yeah, where she's digging into her arm. Because they just pull that onto the screen so casually.
Oh yeah, it's like she really just goes, "Oh yeah, and I've been doing this thing. Here, have a look." And it's like she's sticking a metal object into an open wound. It's like,
no, yeah, yeah, she's like open, like she's using a scalpel on her arm, and it's just like, dude.
Well, I'm gonna go kill myself.
Fuck.
Okay. Jesus.
What, you were disturbed during a disturbing horror movie?
He said he was ashamed to admit these two things,
Especially if you watch horror movies a lot, the fact that one of them can actually get you, it's like, fuck. It's bitch time hours. I can't admit this.
I gasped and brought my hands to my mouth like a little girl.
Yeah.
Good job, VHS. You scared me. Now, yes, this movie is scary and suspenseful and freaky and terrifying at times, but there is something about it that just is off, and I'll tell you what it is. The movie does not make sense, and...
Alright, he says
I mean, that's...
make sense. Let's,
there's something about it that's a little bit off.
Yeah,
it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, let's let him finish. I was more just marking that down. Point one in his book makes no sense.
It's not meant to, but that will really irritate some viewers. Like, if you watch this movie and you...
Hold on, this is not meant to.
He's still qualified.
I can't really clarify that until we know what he means by it makes no sense. Because if he's talking about, like, the random collection of videotapes, they're not really collectivized by anything. They have very little in common. They don't tell a grander overarching story that's a thread between all of them. It literally is just a random collection of horror short stories. Then yeah, he's correct, and I agree. It's not meant to make sense in that way. There's not an overarching theme that all of these stories have in common. And that will irritate some people, but if he means more that the framing device is not coherent and doesn't make sense, I would argue that that absolutely is meant to make sense.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a story being told. So yeah, just clarification needed, I guess.
It's not meant to, but that will really irritate some viewers. Like, if you watch this movie and you hate it, I'll completely understand. Like, I would totally understand if you hated this movie. It's not the kind of movie that you watch and you make sense of it. There are so many things that happen and you just kind of
What? But
I think
you can, and you do. That's what gives any one of these short stories any meaning at all, is that you can make sense of them. You're following these characters, piecing together from this broken footage that you're being presented with what happened to them. I'm still not sure what he means, because I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it's the anthology doesn't have a single overarching narrative, but you are absolutely meant to go into this movie with the attitude of, I want to understand what's happening to these people, because that's the whole hook of found footage. You're watching this broken, disjointed collection of shorter clips, and in your head, you're gradually piecing together the mystery. If you don't go into that with a mentality of, I want to understand what happened here, then you're not going to bother putting the pieces together in your head. So you're just going to sit there like a vegetable while images flash in front of your face. Weird point, Chris, but go off.
to buy it. The found footage style of it makes it seem so realistic to the point where it's just like, okay, I guess some things just aren't explained. And you know what? That's what scares me the most. The stuff that isn't explained, that's left open to interpretation in horror movies, where you're like, what in the world was, like, what? It's like that line in Batman Begins, and you always fear what you don't understand. It's a
Okay, there's this thing some people do where things are left up to interpretation or they're explained, and they present those two like it's a dichotomy between them, like they're opposite things. And they're really not. If something is being left open to interpretation, that means you have been given the pieces to put it together yourself. You can't just not give people any pieces and then say it's up to interpretation, because you've given them no tools with which to interpret it. So it's like those things aren't opposites. One of them builds into the other. It's like you can have things that are fully explained explicitly, and you can have things that are a little bit less explained, but all of the pieces are there.
Yeah,
And that's what happens in this movie. It's like, you don't get it explained that it's a vampire or a succubus or whatever the fuck. You're left to fill in that blank yourself, but all of the tools you need to fill it in are given to you. You're shown how it lures in its prey. You're shown how it feeds. You're shown how it operates. You're shown the kind of power it has and how much of a grasp it has on human behavior. So you actually have a very brief but still kind of useful psychological profile of this thing. You're given pieces to work with. So yes, it's up to interpretation, but only because we're given things with which to interpret it. And that's what happens for all of these. You're not actually told exactly what's happening in the house, nor are you told why or how they were told to get this particular VHS in the first place. But you're given blanks you can fill in. So if he's tying this into his point that it's not really meant to make sense, that I think just doesn't track at all.
yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
exactly like that. It's so weird at times and so difficult to figure out actually what happened in some of these short stories that it starts to be even more disturbing. And that's what happened to me. I can understand someone who wants more explanations being like, "Ugh." For me,
Okay.
No, I don't know why. It always surprises me when he does that, like some weird.
Well, yeah, it's because it's just so much more playful than we're used to seeing him.
I guess.
It's like because we did watch like a newer Chris Duckman thing yesterday just to like remind ourselves.
Oh yeah, we watched
his
like
style and everything.
yeah, we watched his Malignant review for a good like 5 minutes.
And yeah, it's a very different vibe. So yeah, this like it's like he's having fun, so it's a little bit more approachable, but it's still very off-putting because we're just not used to seeing this way. It's like seeing your teacher outside of school. It's like, hang on, you're not supposed to act like a human.
Yeah, what are you doing? I thought you lived in the school building.
It's like, yeah, you don't exist when you're not at the top of a classroom. Shut the fuck up.
Though I enjoyed this movie. It has a lot of the horror tropes and cliches though. Random women must disrobe at all times. And one thing that did bother me is
there's some gratuitous titty here and there. Like there's
Yeah.
some where it makes sense, but there's a lot of it. It's like far more than was ever necessary.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, there's also a fair amount of cockalini and cheese, so, you know...
Well, now that's the thing, yeah. This movie, it does have gratuitous titty, but it also has gratuitous cock and a ball. So, yeah, it's equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity
exploitation.
nudity, yeah, exactly.
In fact, I think there's more actual dick in this movie than almost the rest of the entire genre put together. Like, holy shit.
Yeah,
You never see dudes hang dong in horror.
Yeah. Would you really call the nudity thing a trope, though? Like, I just feel like it's part of the horror genre. Like, it always has been.
But see, that's what makes it a trope. It's the fact that it's nothing that contributes to the horror directly. It's just something that consistently and regularly happens in the genre.
I guess it just doesn't feel as gimmicky to me as like somebody running up the stairs when they should have gone out the front door.
Or trying to go through a doggy
I think it's
door.
more to do with how much it affects the plot of a horror movie. It's like having the gratuitous titties, we know that's a horror movie trope. It's just something we expect to happen because it's happened in so many horror movies. But it doesn't derail the plot. The rest of the horror movie isn't happening because of this stupid decision that almost every horror movie protagonist seems to make. That's a different kind of trope. But it is also just a trope.
Fair enough.
That just...
It's like, here's another one for you. Why is it that every woman, every damsel in distress in a horror movie, why is it always the hot one? You know? It's like, there's no reason for that. There's no plot reason for that. Unless for some reason the actual monster is attracted to her, in which case you could say that makes sense, because obviously the monster is going to pick the juiciest prey. But other than that, it's literally just because we like seeing hot people on screen, and it means that the hero is going to rescue the hottest chick. That's just more narratively satisfying. But it is a trope. Anything could be a trope if you do it often enough.
Alright, yeah.
The whole film is trying to portray this very realistic tone, but at certain times where they needed a jump scare, they did insert music in the movie, and I noticed that, and I was like, that doesn't seem to fit with the tone that you were creating before of this very realistic, no music thing. I'm
trying to think of...
Is this supposed to be super realistic, though?
Yeah, found footage by its very premise, it's supposed to be more real.
Well,
except
yeah, but I mean
the
the succubus and stuff, and you know, that to me doesn't come off as like hyper realistic.
Yeah, it does. Well, I mean, obviously it's using like a fantasy-esque element, like, oh no, monster are real, but it's presented to us in a way that's meant to be very realistic. It's like, you know, just these people who are very similar to actual real people we know exist. They're going on a night out. They've got this creepy camera set up on one of their friends because they're creeps. And they go about their night completely normally. And then this element that is fantasy-esque creeps into that. But it's presented completely realistically. It's like, this is a thing that actually happened. That's the tone of the whole thing. Like, when you say not realistic, would you say, is like, if in one of these, if it wasn't a horror thing, but the whole thing is building up to this random old lady, we thought she was just a random old lady, but she's actually a witch and we see her do a spell. It's like, the tone of the whole thing is still that it's trying to be realistic. Or would you also classify that the same way? That it's not realistic because
Well,
fantasy element?
it's realistic, but there are, I don't know. I feel like it gets blurry when you're incorporating fantasy elements. Because yeah, it's definitely portrayed in a realistic way. Like I completely agree with you there, but like where do you draw that line? Like how? What is the amount of fantasy element that has to be added in before it stops being realistic?
It's just suspension of disbelief. Like, is Lord of the Rings realistic? I would say yes, because the way everybody acts, the way things behave, it's all real to how actual people act and behave. Whereas for me, that line gets broken when you introduce any kind of cartoon logic. So, I don't know. Star Wars sequels, since they're just such a handy examples. I wouldn't say those are realistic, but it's got nothing to do with the fact that it has fantasy elements. It's to do with the fact that my suspension of disbelief is broken when they stop acting like real people who want to live. But then we're arguing realism versus suspension of disbelief, and I feel like the
That's what I
conversation,
say.
the distinction between them is
It
like a
gets
very different
funky.
thing.
Yeah.
Because all horror is trying to be realistic as possible until it introduces its horror element because it wants you to feel like it's as real as possible. But really, no horror thing is realistic unless it's a true crime documentary. And even then, it's like you can have a true crime documentary that's completely 100% accurate. But unless somebody knows that it's real, they can look at the absolute crazy shit happening and be like, ah, come on. Nobody's that crazy. It's like, no, it's real. It's like, but he did this thing. He's like, he ate his own mother because he was jealous that she wanted to fuck the mailman. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. But it's so unrealistic. Nobody thinks like that. It's like, well, this guy did. It's like, where exactly is your line for that? And if it literally is just any supernatural element, then you're restricting realism to documentary and true crime only, where it's not realism, it's just reality.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And even then, reality isn't all that realistic half the fucking time.
Hey, yeah, when are they gonna patch the sun, man?
Honestly, don't know if I can watch that first one with that girl again without kind of like going like that. Like, I don't know, man. It got under my skin and it really chilled me, man. It chilled me to the bone. I'm gonna give VHS a B+. It's the best horror movie I've seen so far this year in regards to scaring me. Cabin in the Woods is still the best horror movie I've seen this year. So do you see?
Okay, so
I mean, that's a rough one to be released up against because Cabin in the Woods is really fucking good.
hold on, I'm wondering what year. Oh, 2012. Okay, so Cabin in the Woods and VHS came out in 2012. I'm wondering
Wait,
what other
Cabin in
competition
the Woods
they
was
have.
2012? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's been out for a
Smith
minute.
was right. The years start coming and they just don't fucking stop.
Oh
It's
God.
true.
So 2012 we had Prometheus VHS, of course. Room 237, which is which was
Remember,
a
and that's the one
documentary.
hotel is haunted, isn't it?
No, that's the documentary all about the making of The Shining and how it's actually like the film is cursed.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, it's that one that YMS went over where like the sound mixing is all over the place, and also one of the clues is that a like little paper basket lines up and it looks like he's got a heart on. It's a very weird tape.
Hmm.
Frankenweenie. Oh
I
God!
like that one.
Silent Hill Revelation.
Oof.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
A great movie. Absolutely
The
phenomenal.
Pact. Underworld Awakening. Resident Evil Damnation. Doesn't, other than like things like Cabin in the Woods, and doesn't seem like to me at least that many recognizable horror movies. Oh God, Resident Evil Retribution, like the Mila Jovovich one.
I mean, I guess some people would classify Resident Evil movies under the horror genre, just because zombies are a horror movie staple.
Yeah, it gets in only by technicality.
The movie? Did you hate it? Did you love it? I understand if you hate it. It's perfectly fine, honestly. But I bet you at least one part of it kind of got under your skin a little bit. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, if you like this review, then you can click right here and get Duckmanized.
I don't want to get Duckmanized. I don't
It
know.
does
It
sound
doesn't sound like a
unpleasant.
pleasant procedure.
You're gonna go get Stuckmanized, Slayer. It's like the men in white coats are dragging you away. You're like, no, God, no. Me throw up the cover. So that was a Chris Stuckman video that we actually kind of agreed with.
For the
Mostly.
most part, yeah.
I mean, he did have that whole thing about like it's not really meant to make sense. And like I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt with what he actually meant by that, but I still think the point that he was trying to make is a bit flumpy. I was like, I don't know if it works. Because it absolutely is meant to make sense. Even just from a genre perspective, the attitude you're expected to go into this with is one where you want to know what's happening to these people. You want to make sense of it inside your head. So you're going to try and like piece it together. Because that's what found footage does. It gives you this footage that's of lower quality where you can see less, specifically because it's going to make you work more to try and figure it out. And you're going to like be hooked to the screen a lot more strongly.
Some baller in the chat just went, so Timmy, where exactly did he Stuckmanize you? Point to the doll.
No.
The second
Show me on the mannequin where you got Stuckmanized, and he just fucking generally vaguely waves at the whole thing.
Yeah, and then
he Stuckmanized me.
But every time it's said, we just hear that do 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 do. It's like So, on a slight off tangent note, because I just kind of saw this in the related section of the essay I have on screen behind the cover. Ninja, have you seen Blair Witch?
Yeah.
Is it as good as people say it is? Because a lot of people count
No.
like
people say that shit's good.
Yeah, it's
Are they
not.
high?
It benefited greatly from being one of the first, if not the first.
Okay.
Like
I
it
put
was.
Blair Witch in the same category as Cloverfield. It made the genre popular, despite being one of the worst things in it.
I have no context because I know Blair Witch is popular to the point it got a video game, and I heard that video game wasn't even that good.
Mean that it's
there's
good or
video
popular.
games for a lot of movies.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just okay at best, or is not even that.
I would contend that it's actually shit, but I dislike it more than a lot of people. So,
is it the same found footage thing, or?
Yeah, a lot of it is found footage problems and also just underwhelming payoffs. It's like this had a lot of problems because of found footage, but things like the succubus siren thing and the fucking ghost house, it's like the payoffs for them A, justified why it was found footage in the first place, and B, they built up to a mystery that was kind of satisfying for what I was getting invested in throughout. Whereas, imagine one of the mid to low tier entries of VHS stretched out for about an hour. That's Blair Witch.
Alright.
In fact, Blair Witch, if you shortened it down to just about like 15 minutes, it would be about as good as an entry in VHS. It'd certainly be less insufferable.
Alright.
I think that's also kind of my whole thing with fan footage stuff. It's not that I can't look at it in general. It's just looking at it for too long gives me a fucking headache. It's like, especially with we spoke about this when we were watching, but towards the end of the first VHS, because each story tries to have a long, slow build up, it makes the whole experience feel like it takes for fucking ever. And towards the end of the first one, I was just like, I don't know if I can do another one of these. But I've heard the second one was better. And then when we did put on the second one, it was all fine. It's like it's much better paced. I'm not dragging my eyes through a bunch of found footage conversations with insufferable people just so I can get to the spooky shit. It's like we're actually getting in there now. We're picking up the pace because the movie knows that we know what we're getting into now.
Oh yeah.
Whereas with things like Cloverfield and Blair Witch, it's just a feature length of shaky cam, insufferable cunts, flashing lights, blurry texture, and occasional shots of something that's comprehensible. So VHS keeps it to a minimum of the person crying 3 inches from the fucking lens. I think it happens maybe once or twice total.
With the end of the Indonesian one.
Yeah, that's probably like the most blatant one, and at that point, it's completely justified. And it hadn't been saturated before then, so it wasn't ruined.
Hey, folks.
God. So this one is called How VHS Showed Us the Horror of Video Culture.
I have no idea what that means.
Neither do I.
So just before we begin, if you're curious to check out the film from today's topic, or even from my previous content, well, Shudder has kindly sponsored this video. If you didn't know...
I can't place that accent. What is that?
Oh, you can't... Oh, jeez. We thought you'd be able to...
No, it's like it's a little bit Irish, but it's also a little bit too long and drawn, and it's like it's a little bit Irish, a little bit Northern Irish, and a little bit Canadian. It's weird.
He's from Newfoundland.
Oh, okay. Well,
No,
then yeah, that completely.
I fucking random shout out like a random country. But
no, it's like. Well, then yeah, no, I have no idea.
He's from a far off village hidden within the Alps. In terms of streaming service, Shudder kind of sounds like a bit of a neat idea. It's a streaming service of just horror movies. I guess Ninja, you're a horror movie film buff lover guy.
I have been on the fence about it because I've heard numerous people basically say that it's not worth the cost. It's got a lot of like low budget stuff. It's got a lot of old stuff. They do make their own exclusive content, but most of it's kind of meh from what I've heard. So most people have been like, they just don't change up their content enough. But then those people also make the same claims about Netflix. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, content takes a while to make. So,
So
I don't know if it'd be worth the price of admission, so to speak.
By old, do you mean like the classics, or old as in like?
Little bit of both. Like some of it'll be like classic stuff. Some of it'll be like, you know, the original like 1950s, 1960s horror stuff, which some people really enjoy, and that's great.
Yeah,
but it just, to me, it's kind of it'd be kind of niche, you know. Like for me, that's a bit much. But
I wouldn't mind like if they have like say like the original Universal monsters. That probably would take like a month of my time.
But then a lot of those you can see on YouTube.
Oh,
it's
you
like
can?
the original Nosferatu movie. You can see that entire thing on YouTube because it's been so long since it was made that it's open source. Or not open source, public domain.
Public domain. Oh, okay. But I doubt like the it's Francis Ford Coppola. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. The Dracula one. With the famous black and white
yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's because like its rights are being held by Universal, I think. And because they still do things with what they say is the same character, but I mean, let's be honest, it isn't. The rights for that one are weird because Dracula as a character is public domain anyway, but versions of him aren't. So you can have Dracula be in your original story, but the version of Dracula from Hotel Transylvania played by fucking
Sandler.
yeah, you can't have that one. You can't have that Dracula. You can have a Dracula that's just got like some weird similarities to him.
What if I want
Because
a
those are just weird similarities.
What if I want a Dracula that ties heavily to the Vlad the Impaler story, and he fights the Ottomans who now need to wear blindfolds to walk around?
Apparently that's completely fine, but for some reason I still think it's a bad idea. Can't really place my finger why.
What if I brought in Charles Dance as well?
Well, I mean, at this point he knows that if he's getting a call for something like this, it's just because the people making the movie know that it's a shit movie, so they need at least one person with talent on set.
He's mostly just there for craft services.
Isn't that
Honestly, at this point, I'm pretty sure that the way his like rider works on his contract is he will be in your shitty movie, but A, you're paying for the fucking privilege, and B, you better have some really good craft services. Because that's the only way that it's going to make doing the job tolerable.
This is how fucking Charles Dance survives off of craft services.
I was actually about to ask if does Charles Dance have anything like that in his contract? Because Harrison Ford actually does. He has to be first.
Most people who are in any way famous, they have some kind of rider, and a lot of the time, it's not because they're bitchy and overly specific. It's to make sure that their employer read their fucking contract.
Right. I was going to point out how Harrison Ford has to be like first in line for craft services. It's like how long do you think that takes? Has Harrison eaten anything yet? Nope. I'm not. Well,
no,
hungry.
It's literally just whenever he turns up, he gets to skip the line.
Right.
So fucking he's Harrison Ford, and he's only going to get like a fucking sandwich or something anyway.
Let's see. So Shudder is a mixed bag.
Shudder is a premium video service from AMC Networks that hosts an extensive collection of expertly curated horror, supernatural, and thriller content, uncut and commercial-free.
Expertly curated. Okay, that's the opposite of what might sell it to me. Because to me, this is where all of the low-budget, obscure horror shit that would never be on Netflix, this is where it's going to be. So if you're someone who likes, B-movies and indie movies and shit like that, this is more for you. Whereas anything that's in any way popular or any way likely to break into the mainstream, it's going to be on Netflix.
Which is kind of a shame because honestly, I would rather use a streaming service like that to catch up on the classic horror movies I haven't seen, like Hellraiser, as a matter of fact, which we might be covering sometime this month.
And I'm actually doubtful that Hellraiser is on Netflix. So, but at the same time, I don't want streaming services to become too partitioned like that. Otherwise, they're just going to become channels, but on the internet, and we're just going to get cable 2.0. And no, we're not doing that again.
Yes, if we could avoid cable 2.0, that'd be great.
With exclusives and original titles you won't find anywhere else. While admittedly I was initially hesitant with it a few years.
Okay, hold on. Dead Detectives, a Shudder original. Hell House 3, Lake of Fire. So they're basically trying to be the Sci-Fi Channel.
Look at Housebound. Your one on the cover looks like she's fucking hiding from the audience.
Are they gone?
When are they going to make a Where's Wally horror movie?
back, they've actually managed to win me over in recent memory with their increasingly diverse selection of films from all across the globe that have encouraged me to be more open-minded and adventurous with my tastes, given I've become a bit too conservative lately and needed a boost in the right direction. It's especially helpful that, along with curation, you can read feedback from other viewers.
Yes, what's the comments section on The Thing? That's what this fucking feels like now. It's a combination of a bit of YouTube, bit of Netflix. All about
And I'll be
horror.
honest, the public doesn't often have the most valuable things to say.
No, don't you know, Bly Manor isn't that good because I'm apparently not shitting and pissing myself with every moment.
But no, it's because it doesn't have enough jump scares. It's a horror. I came here for the jump scares. Where are my jump scares?
Where are my fear flashes?
What, you mean I have to think about it to understand how horrible it is? What kind of bullshit is that? You sound pretentious. It's like,
Yeah, I was going
Boy.
to say that must really piss you guys off since I haven't seen Bly Manor. The claim that it's not scary must bother the shit out of you guys.
Not really. Because, like, it's a fair thing to say. It's like, oh, I just didn't find it scary. But that's not the same as saying I found it shit or I thought it was boring. It's like, I didn't find it particularly scary either. But I found it a really fucking good, engaging story with characters I wanted to hear more about. So it's shit because I didn't jump enough. It's extra annoying just because jump scares are super fucking cheap, easy to do things that don't add anything anyway. So the idea that it's being rated down because it doesn't do that is just completely backwards.
What were you gonna say, Ninja?
Yeah, it's just a different kind of scary. It's more like, you know, that sort of soul searching and, like, you know, contemplating the world and life and meaning, and just, you know, it makes you think, and sometimes that's a scary thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh no. Thought.
No,
The
thoughts.
scariest
Depressing.
monster of all.
Well, it's like they say that a lot of the most miserable people are the ones that are the smartest because they realize how bleak things are, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's comforting.
It's the whole ignorance is bliss thing, you know? It's like, just
Right.
let me be stupid and happy. Because if I stop and think about how life works or how civilization is such a fragile thing, it's like, oh, that's really fucking depressing.
It's like, I wish to understand the cosmos. Then you look at the cosmos and you're like, I wish to no longer understand the cosmos.
Yeah, I wish to
Please
go back
make it
in.
stop.
I wish to go back in the cave.
So you go back in time to the first thing to crawl out the ocean and punt the fucker back in.
Just, Ugh!
It's like, nope.
Get back in there.
This stupid monkey climbed down out of the tree and now I have a credit score. What the fuck is this shit? Get back up there, you fuck. Eat your banana.
Fucking asshole.
God damn it.
It's like, you realize that because of you, now there's such a thing as a 9 a.m. staff meeting. Fucking, you had fruit. You had mates. You had the world. Why did you do this? You threw it all away. And for what?
I love the idea that Slur is just actively, like, he traveled back in time. He's just pointing up at a tree at a monkey. You're just like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's all your fucking fault.
Man yells at earliest mammal.
Just put the hair on top of Abe Simpson.
On the platform, and it's easy to pick up and use from devices like your iPhone or iPad if you're on.
Sorry, I could not get this.
It's Shark Boy after Lava Girl dumped him.
Your bee monsters of every shape, size, and style, from silly to sexy to seriously scary. Oh, for fuck's sake.
They miss an opportunity. It should have been from silly to scary to so sexy it's silly.
I don't even mind watching the Shudder ad. I feel like Shudder needs all the help it can.
Yeah, you know what? Free advertisement. Here you go.
And if they did make themselves like the platform of B movies, I could almost get behind that. Because we don't have enough of those.
I love this one from Zombie Jamboree. Just the pose he's making.
It's a flesh-eating fiesta.
Oh no!
With your favorite zombie flicks.
Now that's the kind of shit you just don't get outside of B movies. That's primo. And that does more to advertise shorter than saying it's like a curated, expertly fucking crafted collection of the finest horror. That's not what people are coming to
No.
for.
I'm here for horror schlock. Can you give me the schlock?
Give me the trash.
You're the trash man.
On the go and need to get a little fright to just get you through the day.
Okay,
That's a weird concept to me. A fright to get you through the day.
Yeah, as if like if I'm not scared, it's not worth living.
Yeah, it's like I just need another hit, man. Fucking scare me.
Boo! Whoa!
Yay.
It's like imagine you're watching something seriously fucking horrifying and you're all there like just hollow-eyed staring at the screen at the horror you just saw, and there's just one guy gritting. He's like, I'm so fucking pumped right now.
Yes!
You need more! I love this one. Horror with Borderlands, a horror with a sense of place. All horror has a sense of place. It's the fucking location they take place.
No. Tell me, where did VHS take place? You don't fucking know.
Somewhere. Actually, if I had to take a guess, actually, for one of them, the one where they go, the Halloween one where they're trying to get to the house for the party, I think that might have been LA, but I could be super wrong on that.
Okay, the entire first movie, it is Wisconsin, isn't it? That like really snowy American state that's basically Diet Canada.
Minnesota.
Minnesota, that's the one. Yeah, I assume that's just where it happened.
Minnesota.
Either probably Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Pretty much the central north.
Yeah, one of the Dakotas.
Yeah, North Dakota, the further north.
One of the Dakotas.
Montana.
Is there a discernible difference between the Dakotas? Like,
yeah, one has Rushmore and one doesn't.
Okay, so one feels superior.
Yeah.
And the other doesn't have its fucking mountains tainted with old guy faces.
Hey, Lincoln's on that face, you son of a bitch.
You take that back.
You know it's the last thing he would have wanted.
Yeah.
This seems really gratuitous.
Why is there the hole in back of Lincoln's memorial? Just had to make it accurate.
$420,000 for this bullshit.
Some of my personal recommendations include their
Tigers Are Not Afraid.
What?
A haunting horror fairy tale set against the backdrop of Mexico's devastating drug wars. Tigers Are Not Afraid follows a group of orphan children armed with 3 magical wishes, running from the ghosts that haunt them and the cartel that murdered their parents.
Oh my god.
Holy shit, that sounds fucking badass.
That's a hell of a concept right there. Fuck, it's in Spanish. I can't, never mind.
Oh no, is it not even subs? Oh no.
Exclusive
that recalls the early films of Guillermo del Toro. So yeah, it's inspired by him, but it's from this new chick. It's honestly, it sounds
gritty urban spin on magical realism to conjure a holy experience.
Okay, there's a lot of newer things that have kind of spoiled that sentence for me, but this is coming from like a different culture that's doing it fresh. So I'm hopeful that film might actually be pretty good.
Fuck, we might sign up for Shudder. Shit.
Shudders.
Such as Tigers Are Not Afraid, which is a fantastical play on childhood experiences during the Mexican drug war. Summer of '84, which
It's the summer of 1984, the perfect time to be 15 years old and free, but when neighborhood conspiracy theorist Davy Armstrong begins to suspect his police officer neighbor might be the serial killer all over the local news, he and his 3 best friends begin an investigation that soon turns dangerous. Huh. And it's not rated.
Well, a lot of the ones on Shudder are not rated, especially the originals, because they don't have to submit them to the ratings board.
Yeah, you're right.
Released to the general audience, then they won't be. And I'm not sure of this, but I'm almost certain that because streaming services are so new and news laws and shit take so long, that there's no kind of specific legislation for releasing them to internet broadcast, because it would be a private website, not technically legally released to the public.
Well, yeah, and because it's a paid service, it's basically like cable. They can pretty much do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
simple, creepy classical homage to summer domestic thrillers, and of course, the terrific anthology
Creepshow and the new anthology series.
I've seen Creepshow.
You've seen it? What's it like?
Yeah. I remember it being pretty good, but I saw it when I was really young. So, I mean, it was like one of those early horror things for me, and some of them are really good.
So
now, if it's the one I'm thinking of, because I think this might be in Creepshow 2, the last story they do, it's like the hyper germophobic, like uber rich guy, and then he starts like hallucinating the sound of like cockroaches, and he's like cleaning his apartment obsessively. But it turns out it's like he's had the cockroaches inside himself the whole time, and towards the end they start crawling out. Like that's one of the most horrifying, gruesome things of like my early childhood, was just seeing cockroaches crawl out of a guy. And it was super well done for its time.
Huh.
Creepshow, which consists of a dozen short stories that give you a flavor for all things horror. Shudder is only $5.99 a month or $56.99 a year, but if you go to Shudder,
probably should talk about. So actually, yeah, this is one of my favorite versions of like, that's how you do an ad read. Just be informative. Just fucking get it done. And
I mean, we filled in a lot of blanks along the way as well, I guess.
Yes.
Had a little help. Also, he's talking about something that's actually like relevant to the topic of the video the ad is being placed in, so it feels like it's more of an addition than a distraction.
He's a horror channel, so
he's a horror channel. Hey.
Oh, hey.
Sorry.
So
honestly, it's the last time I'm going to make the joke of like horror sounding a little bit like horror if you say it too fast.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But of course, like Shudder would be the perfect like the perfect sponsor for him.
Yeah.
.com and use my promo code Ryan, you can get a 30-day free trial to test it out for yourself. And if you need another movie to give you a gentle persuader, well, let's talk about VHS.
Alright, so...
Segue! This guy's a fucking professional.
Yeah, good segue. Like, this is way better than, like, I think it was Brown Table where he tried to do, like, a VPN ad in the middle of the Snyder Cut video. And it was just like,
God.
What if you want to be in Europe and they don't have access to the Snyder Cut? Well, you can use the VPN. And it's just like,
Europe,
but you're on vacation.
Snyder Cut. And what is this thing Americans have? Like, well, yeah, you can't do this in Europe. It's like, dude, we have less restrictive regulations than you do. What the fuck is this? Or there's this other thing. It's like getting free tap water in a restaurant just to flex on Europeans. Like, motherfucker, do you think we don't have taps? What is this?
Don't you guys actually charge for water?
No, why would we do that? That's fucking stupid. In fact, it's actually a law that if somebody asks for a glass of tap water, you have to give it to them.
Neat.
So
I didn't even
why
know that.
would you think that we charge for it? I mean, we charge for bottled water, but that's because you're buying a bottle of water. That's a different thing.
I didn't realize that there was like this little thing going on where, like, oh yeah, isn't tipping one of the things we're accidentally competing over?
But actually, yeah, it's like, yeah, having my food brought to me and having the restaurant pay their staff to flex on Americans.
Huh.
And Europeans, like most countries, restaurants, like at the very end when everybody's like paying the bill and whatever, that's when you might throw a little bit of extra cash as a tip to your server. But that's also the only time tipping ever comes up. It's like a guy working in a hotel is not going to be tipped because he held the door open for you. We consider that an absolutely redundant service. You open the door yourself when you enter a hotel, and a member of staff will carry your bags to the room, maybe. But like that's also not a tipping thing. I don't know. When we went to America, it's like me and my family, it felt like just every fucking time a human interacted with us, at the end of the interaction, they'd fucking put their hand out. So we ended up just trying to talk to as few fucking people as possible. Which is impossible because we sound Irish and every fucking American wanted to talk to us. So, you know.
That's the double-edged sword of the accent, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, we got great service fucking everywhere, but, you know. We also wanted to be left the fuck alone to eat our food.
Didn't you tell us about how you went to like a quote-unquote Irish pub while you were over here?
Oh, yeah, it's just because my family's like me, my dad, my mom, and like my brother got separated from like our grandparents, our aunt, and our uncle, and we needed a place just to like reconvene and move on to like go get food and whatever. And yeah, there was this big flashy Irish pub like just off of Times Square, and we're just like, okay, this is like a very obvious thing, very easy to find. We'll just meet up there. We go in, it's like, and the server starts talking like a fucking Lucky Charms leprechaun at us, and we're just like, please stop. And then she dropped it immediately, and it was fine.
Yeah, because she basically got caught by real Irishmen.
But it's also just like, we get it. It's a tourism thing. It's like, you're not doing it to sound Irish. You're doing it to sell the experience of your Irish pub, which, you know, it also seems silly to us because to us, you don't say that in Ireland, I'm going to the Irish bar. It's like, no, I'm just going to the pub. They're all Irish bars. And anytime you go into one that's like in another country, because there's one in Netherlands as well. When I was in Netherlands for my Erasmus, the town I was in, it was kind of a university town, and they also had an Irish bar, but you can tell it's fake because all of the random shit they stick to the walls, there's a pattern to it that most people don't get. It's like, it's not just random old shit dangling off the roof. It's like all of those things usually have like a sense of place and purpose in the history of the town where the pub is. Yeah, it's the little things. But they're not meant to be genuine around, so I don't take it that seriously when I'm there. It's just odd to see.
We have
It's like you come to Ireland and you see like a quote American diner, and you're just like, what the fuck even am I looking at right now?
Oh yeah, if I went into one of your diners and it's like I'd be transported to the 50s, but not even like close to the 50s. It's like this.
Yeah, but the food would all be wrong and different. Like you'd have like the black and white tiled floors, the red leather chairs, and then you'd look at the menu and you're like, what the fuck is a snack box?
Oh god!
To us, that's
what?
obvious. That's like, it's 2 pieces of boned chicken, some chips, and a thing of sauce. And it's like, okay,
What? No. What about steak and eggs or fucking biscuits and gravy?
Your biscuits and gravy you're not going to get in Ireland. For starters, you'd have to call it scones and gravy just sounds like an abomination to us.
So hold on, if I went to one of your quote unquote American diners, I couldn't get me some biscuits and gravy.
Nope.
Even though that's one of the staple American meals.
It's gray slime and you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Covered in sausage, thank you very much.
Sausages are meant to be sausage shaped. What you've got is what used to be a sausage and has gone right back to being pork mince. Why didn't you just use pork mince in the first place?
I love the idea. It's like, yeah, this is what starts like the international food wars of Europe.
If Europe was having a food war, America wouldn't even be at the fucking table, and you know it.
What? Barbecue, biscuits and I'm thinking of almost
Barbecue
all
is a style of cooking, and everybody does it. It's not uniquely American.
Do you get? Wait, I would love to taste what. I'll figure out what
Mongolian
Irish ribs.
barbecue.
Yeah. And
Oh,
just remove the nationality in front of barbecue. It's literally just cooking something over an open charcoal fire. Everybody does it.
Well, I was
Yep.
more about to bring. I was gonna say. I wonder what ribs taste like in Ireland. Then
Exact same as they do in America. 'Cause they're
uh,
just ribs. It's
They're
the
just
ribs of a fucking pig. I mean, we have less fucking hormones and shit in our pigs, so maybe the meat might taste a little bit better. But you know,
also not one pair of like. There's all different styles. Like Kansas
those are
City barbecue.
sauces. You're talking about the
depending on where you go.
sauces.
I was gonna say there ain't no sauce near my ribs, but that's because Kansas City dry rub, baby.
Okay, but this is all just like the flavorings put onto the meat, but the meat itself and the way it's cooked, neither of those are uniquely American. Now, you could say it's like, oh, dude, fucking barbecue sauce that was made in America, it's American. It's like, okay, so we're gonna have sauce wars and seasoning wars now. That's not a food war, that's flavoring war. And even then, everything that goes into barbecue sauce, which is a mix of ketchup, soy sauce, honey, and some spices, none of that's particularly American on its own. And putting them together isn't all that American either.
I actually wonder what's in my like. No, hold on, I'll be right back. Yeah, entertain yourself for a moment. I'm curious on something.
So, I don't know. It's like both America and Ireland have very few foods that are super popular that are actually originally from here. It's like you go around Dublin, there's a burrito place around every corner. It's like everybody loves like spicy fucking Asian food that you find everywhere. Because I guess like having an Irish restaurant just isn't unique or special to us. Whereas if you go to like a carvery in a pub, that's probably the closest you get to like traditional Irish cuisine, where it's like a big lump of roast meat and you get like mash and roast veg and gravy and all that kind of thing. But as for what's popular, it's mostly foreign food. We just don't claim later on that it was Irish all the time.
So I just quickly grabbed the bottle of what like I got from this grocery store called like it was Kansas City inspired barbecue sauce.
What the fuck does that mean?
Like inspired, they probably use the similar spices to what it's probably something like Gates or something uses for their sauces. I don't.
So why don't they just call it fucking? It's a Kansas City barbecue sauce.
Well, if it's inspired and you can't, and it's not,
Which means it's not the thing. But like, if it's inspired by another food, that just means it's like that, but has less.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just would be the thing.
Yeah, it's clearly just imitation. Well, the problem being is that this was made in Cincinnati and not Kansas City. So that's probably why they got the. That's why it probably said the inspired bit.
So why don't they just say it's Cincinnati barbecue sauce?
I don't know. I don't like to sauce my stuff that much anyway.
Because Kansas City is known for a very particular style of sauce with a very particular flavor.
Right.
Okay, and if you have that exact same style with the exact same flavor but not made there, isn't it still Kansas City barbecue sauce?
No, because they can't specifically say it's Kansas City sauce if it's not from Kansas City.
Okay.
They can say like it's inspired by, or it's, you know,
they can say Kansas City style sauce.
Yeah, they can say style sauce. They just can't say it's specifically Kansas City sauce if it's not from Kansas City.
Right.
Because our towns and cities that are known for this shit take this stuff very seriously.
Yeah,
like,
hence
it is what they are known for. So you cannot claim to be the thing if you are not the thing.
Yeah, that's hence why I got a little like I was just like, I wonder what ribs, because being from Kansas City, yeah, barbecue, I take my barbecue seriously.
I guess it's just for different foods, it's different things. Because French dressing does not have to be made in France. It's just a style of salad dressing that's called French dressing.
Yeah, the rest
know
of the
what I
world makes more sense. You know what I mean?
Ah,
America's just weird about this shit.
Yeah, we're a country of weirdos.
It's kind of that thing you talk about with like, you know, how you identify as a thing, but like on the cultural level. We're that level of consumer.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm a consumer, but I'm not practicing anymore. I'm American culturally. I don't practice Americanism.
It's just a picture of Washington and Kennedy, FDR. I'm gonna pause for copyright because that's just a good solid bit of film going on.
Is this thing copyrighted? Can it be?
What? VHS? Because it was a movie.
And
It was
I mean, like, specifically with regards to the algorithm and the detection of, like, video shit. Obviously, the movie itself is under the Creative Commons and everything like that. But, like, the shaky footage and the sound stuff, it's like, I honestly don't know how the algorithm would even make enough sense of that to copyright it.
You think the algorithm might just get so confused? It's just like, what the fuck is this?
Well, yeah, if you think about it, all it does, it has a library of data, and when what you're doing in your video matches that data too specifically, it'll do you. So if you're playing a clip of a movie, that clip, the visual data and the audio data, it's going to line up with what's in the library and you're done. Whereas this, what they have in their library would be so eclectic and scattered, I don't know if it would line up. Or maybe it's the exact same. I don't know. Like, it makes absolutely no difference because it's just recorded as data. It'll match up just as fine. I don't know.
We let like 6 seconds of footage play. Ninja and I just hear like knocking in the doors. Stop! You
Yeah, there's my answer. The more you know.
Do 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 do.
There is something intrinsically shocking and scary about the opening of VHS.
Okay, his accent is fucking doing my nut in. Because he'll say things like that, VHS, and it sounds very Northern Irish, but then he'll pronounce other things in a very American kind of way. Like, he'll replace his T's with D's.
I kind of Scandinavian. I was kind of thinking somewhere like Norway.
No, you'd feel it more in the consonants.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything more harrowing or gruesome shown later on that detracts from how this chaotic raw footage represents how unconsciously uncivilized many of us have gradually become.
Wait, wasn't the purpose of this to, like, disgust us and make us just not like these people? If this was meant to be a reflection of the audience, it was kind of borked.
It's a reflection on the human spirit. We're all just a bunch of fucking assholes.
Yeah, meanwhile, every human spirit watching this is like, that's disgusting.
But did you catch what I was saying about like the word salad? Like, that was a hell of a sentence that just came out of his mouth.
Yeah, it was. I was just like, all right, hold on. Like, I'm quickly connecting the dots. Hey, that guy's an asshole.
Of course, we might just be witnessing the behaviour of petty criminals, but it's the broader implications I'm referring to. How in a day and age of relentlessly rampant video culture, we've normalised how appropriate and comfortable we are filming everything that we do.
Okay, stop. Wrong. One of the central conceits that the VHS movies rely on, and it's something that you go in having made the deal that you're not going to question too hard, is the fact that everyone in these stories just happens to be the kind of person who will have a second camera recording them recording everything. It's a central conceit and it's part of the premise of these movies, and you're expected to just let it slide. If you're going to suggest to us that that's normal, that it's a reflection of a society that's come to recording everything, you've lost it. You've gone too far and you broke it. Because that's just not the case.
It's very much not.
Even to us in like 2021, between the over surveillance of the global population and also just how much of ourselves we put online, going back to 1995 and seeing people with camcorders and a dash cam watching them with their camcorders so that we can get a secondary shot of them later on, this still feels like an excessive amount of recording of ourselves. So having that be the premise of the horror, it doesn't work. You can't say that that's a dark reflection of some reality experienced by the viewer, because it's not. It's something that we suspend our disbelief on for the sake of enjoying the movie.
Yeah, because if that was truly what he was like saying, like everybody's got their cameras out, like if this were made today, then yeah, everybody would like have their phones out and recording it, I guess. But that's just not. It's just not this film.
And nothing perpetuates this bewildering acceptance more than the commanding presence of social media. Despite
This is 2012, so Twitter, Facebook, those things were all going. They weren't the cesspools that they are today.
I don't know. People kind of look like with rose-tinted glasses on pre-2016 internet. It's like, it wasn't as dire because we were still basically teenagers at the time. Life just wasn't that serious.
Fair enough.
But it was not a brighter or more rosy place. The internet has always been cancerous.
VHS being 8 years old and released during the immense surge of online servitude, it's scary how the things shown in the opening and later throughout are reinforced by influencers and people who lack a moral or social compass each and every day.
Right, it started off as a sentence and it came solid towards the end.
Is he saying, like, we're just becoming these assholes?
Kind of. But he's also kind of gone on a tangent where it's like, we see social media influencers doing all of this wild shit, and we've become so used to it and comfortable with it. And that's what this is a reflection of. We're seeing, like, these people that we just watch, and we see them acting like deplorable cunts, and it's normal to us. That only works if, in the context of what we're seeing from the VHS movie, that was presented as normal to us, when it's very much not. What they do, it's deliberately in excess. It's shown to be disgusting. Now, if we were seeing this, and there was another group of people who were reviewing that footage or seeing that footage, and they were acting as an audience stand-in and they were clapping along with it, or they were fine with it, or it seemed normal to them, then maybe you could make this argument. Because you can actually see something that's meant to be a stand-in for the audience applauding what they're doing, but they don't. They keep it in isolation. These things they do, the only other person outside of their social group who's involved is the woman they sexually harass in the middle of the fucking car park. So, like, yeah, as far as the normal person is concerned, within their own context, they are disgusting. So, them being a dark reflection of where social media has brought our species to a new low, I think he's just talking at his hole.
I think he's also talking about like everybody inside of inside of the VHSs as well. Like in this, he's showing the camping trip people, and yeah, they're staring at a decomposing. If I had to probably a skunk. I would need to look at it with
It
the
looked like some
without the blurriness.
dog-sized mammal, so maybe like a badger or a skunk or something like that.
Yeah. I guess he's just putting this on all of the protagonists of VHS and not just the through line in which we're watching.
Now, in the
anthology.
first VHS movie, he does kind of have a point because there's a disproportionate amount of insufferable cunts. It's like you go from the framing device guys right into the guys who like put we're gonna secretly record a girl naked with your glasses camera guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into the woods with like this bitch is gonna kill people because other people were killed. That idiot. So yeah, the people in the first VHS movie, very few of them are in any way good, except that one guy in the bear costume, that absolute Chad, who's just like, you know what? No, we're gonna go back and we're actually gonna save a fucking life.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most heroic character across both movies.
They do
just because that one thing.
They do kind of be a bit stupid with the we gotta go save her. One of you.
I didn't say he was bright. I said he was the most heroic, and it's not a high bar.
Yeah, fair enough. Ninja, do you know if this guy only talks about one, or is he gonna bring up two as well? All right.
I guess we'll assume he's just taking her or something.
No problem.
You think Logan Paul filming a dead body was anything new? Well...
Oh my god!
But it was new. And because it was new, and... Okay, here's the thing. They make out like the fact that happened is a sign of how sick things have become, but people completely leave out the way people responded to that was with just abject fucking disgust. Meaning that everybody's actually doing pretty good, actually. Our response to that was exactly what it should have been. Everybody was pretty healthy. Very few people were like, maybe he should have fucking hung himself right next to him. What a low-life piece of shit. It's like, that's maybe going a little bit far, but like, most people were like, what the fuck was that? Dude, you can't just fucking do that.
No,
and they acknowledge that he did that because there's something wrong with him. He is a deviation from the norm, not a sign of the norm.
Right. And now his brother boxes people.
This whole angle he's taken for his commentary, I think, is tism. I think we're not setting ourselves up for success here.
See, we were eased into it via the kind of decent Shudder ad, and now we're dealing with the actual meat and potatoes.
VHS showed us how prevalent this desensitized behavior already was, and that's not just...
It didn't, though.
For them.
It didn't show us how prevalent it was. It shows how depraved they are.
Right. Because other than the fact that all of them are viewing the tapes, that doesn't necessarily... Only in that part do they become the audience stand-in, but in terms of everything else, they are not our stand-in. Because they are their own characters.
Referring to the dehumanizing and inhumane videos that can be found surprisingly easy with a quick Google search. I know that seems like a lot to pull from what is a very conventional anthology of found footage shorts that mostly aim to celebrate the subgenre in all its purity, but given the explicit nature of its setup, it's hard to look past its portrayal of deviant lifestyles that have become worryingly normalized.
How and by whom? See, he said, I was like, okay, I know that's like a lot to pull from what seems to be a simple horror movie, but, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to let you finish, because you're going to justify why pulling all of this out of that makes sense. It's like, but you can't ignore the way it portrays things that are normalized. Okay, but you just justified your premise by itself. These things aren't normalized. They're seen as disgusting.
I'm glad you could get through that, because that point was so long that he lost me like halfway through.
Well, yeah, he needs to tighten up his script here. He's got a lot of run-on sentences, and you can hear him pausing for breath in the middle of his sentences. which it does two things. It signifies that his sentence might be a little bit too long, even for him, and I know because I do the exact same thing. I've got the exact same problem, but also it establishes that there's a little bit of a break there, and in your head you've broken that into two fragments of sentences, and at that point the whole thing just starts turning into TV static in your head, and you're no longer actually paying attention to what he says. But he sounds very smart, so you just kind of nod and go along with it. And then at the end, somebody asks you to explain it to them, and you're just like, well, basically what he says, about normalized problematic behavior and dot dot dot, and then eventually you just recommend they go watch the video.
Right.
It's he's not actually communicating anything in a way that leaves you with any understanding of what the fuck you just heard.
Sure, we constantly criticize and rebuke it, but we do so with an increasingly defeated disposition.
No, we don't.
What?
In fact,
Because
the disposition towards anything we dislike has only gotten more virulent and more violent, to the point now where someone does something we disagree with, we demand they be removed from public sight. If someone doesn't use their platform to do the things I think they should do with their platform, I think they shouldn't have a platform. It's fuck off.
Yeah, that's...
With an increasingly defeated disposition.
The way he ended that sentence, I felt like there was more to that sentence. And he
We
just kind
face
of
these things with an increasingly defeated disposition. That's the whole thing. That's the whole point.
Okay.
I'll be straight with you, I find VHS to be kinda underwhelming for the most part, given the talent involved like Adam Wingard, Ty West, David Bruckner, and the Radio Silence team, who...
This just shows how little horror movies I've seen. I don't recognize any of those names.
Neither do I, but I'm...
Ninja,
names.
do you recognize any of those names that he just listed?
What were the names?
Let me rewind it and I'll...
to be kinda underwhelming for the most part, given the talent involved like Adam Wingard, Ty West, David Bruckner, and the Radio Silence team, who...
The only one I specifically recognize is Guard, and that's because he's the asshole who did Death Note.
Okay.
Does have the most recognizable name for the worst reason.
Yeah.
all collaborate on each other's films. However, I think my disappointment stems from having seen VHS after watching each director's later efforts, and ultimately setting high expectations for a film clearly on a very limited budget, and being a first-time production for Bloody Disgusting. That's
So basically, he was just talking about production stuff.
Yeah, it's I have criticisms, but it's their first movie, so that's neat. It's there's very little that's actually said there.
Yeah.
not to say they're bad by any means. The concepts are good, it's just the execution that leaves a lot to be desired.
Which could impact the quality. Hold on, I'm not saying they're bad, but it's got some issues that affect... Hold on.
Bloody Disgusting. That's not to say they're bad by any means. The concepts are good, it's just the execution that leaves a lot to be desired, primarily because they go on for way too long and lack the substance to keep them interesting. Although
Okay, yeah, that point he made there, I think he's struggling because he's trying to talk about the movie overall when there are such radical differences in quality. But the overall issues he pointed out, I think, are fair. Especially when he comes back to some of them go on too long for the amount of content that's in them. Like the second one, I think, the one that's on screen right now, The Holiday. Yeah, there's a lot you could cut from that and lose basically nothing.
Yeah.
I can't deny its representation of the homegrown independent spirit of 70s, 80s, and 90s American horror, where it embraces the schlock and camaraderie of unstructured filmmaking, even if the films take themselves more seriously than they probably should.
I don't know. A horror movie, I think, should absolutely take itself seriously.
Yeah, because then you end up going in a comedy when they're not taking them seriously. Or they're just one of the characters that just dies super quick. Yeah, because all these people who are in these situations should be taking them serious because of what's happening. If they, like in this one, the Halloween one, if like the house was falling apart and disintegrating in front of them, and they were just like, oh, well, that's weird. I feel like that would dramatically impact on the quality.
I think it's also just to do with the fact, even if you know that you're making a low-budget horror movie, and you know there are going to be things that are going to be funny about it, in order for any of it to work, you still need to, in earnest, make a horror movie. You have to take it seriously, even though you know the audience probably won't.
There's also the cynical side where it's easy to feel like these films are concept pitches for feature films, which was actually the case for VHS's most popular short, Amateur Night, which was adapted into a pretty decent spin-off called Siren. But anyway,
I'm actually interested in seeing that. I think that might actually turn out to be pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Back to its commentative angle, I think VHS does have a recurring theme throughout each film that you could say semi-interlinks them. Now, it is worth bearing in mind that this is
That's gonna be tough for me, my dude.
That's gonna be a massive stretch because one of them is just the beginnings of us. I keep thinking. So we watched them back to back. So unfortunately, I have them as like one solid through line. When it's like, fuck, the zombie one was not in one.
I still think you're a little bit too harsh on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the better ones, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry,
I held
like
it as an example of when I think like the shaky cam stuff is done better just because for what it is and for as eclectic as its concept is, they actually managed to keep it very coherent step by step as to what's actually happening. But I think there's some execution problems with how our POV zombie it's completely differently to every other zombie, and it detracts a lot from the narrative we're given. But I still think it's one of the better ones.
Yeah,
it's one of the most interesting concepts by far.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, yeah, I might be a little bit too harsh on it. The ending yanks me right out of it, so that might be why I kind of treat it a bit harsher than I actually need.
Why? What's wrong with the ending?
It somehow having this zombie being special enough that it somehow has enough self-awareness to then kill itself.
I think that's just a payoff for the thing that was wrong with it throughout, where our zombie is different and special when he really shouldn't have been.
Yeah,
not for what they were going for.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I might be just treating it too harshly because of the ending.
But how much of that is because you're comparing it to what else happens in the episode versus you're just comparing it to zombie media in general?
That's a good question.
I feel like you're bringing a lot of baggage into that one and using that to hold against the short when it's like, we don't know enough about this version of the zombie to really say definitively.
Yeah, that might be
based on the other zombies, and that's kind of like my issue. Is that he doesn't act like the other zombies that he sees. And even when that episode was over, I was like, if they showed at least one other zombie besides him having similar issues, looking mournfully at their own reflection or at their own hands or whatever, then maybe I'd give it more of a pass. Because it would mean that our zombie isn't special. The horror of this situation is something they're all going through.
Mm-hmm.
And that could just be how zombies work in that world, and we're not drawing in external shit to justify it. That's just working with what we're given.
That actually just made me think about something. Because Max brought up he doesn't like in zombie movies when they just don't say zombie. Slur? Didn't you and him
That's
have
a
like
big
whole
old depends, and we
conversation?
kind of had this conversation at the time as well. It's mainly when a zombie movie takes place in our world, like an almost exact replica of it, but you have to conceive that we arrived in the exact same world where zombie movies just never happened. Like zombies as a concept never happened.
Mhm.
Well, it also depends on how pedantic you want to get about it, because technically, if there's zombies, that refers to the specific monster that is resurrected via voodoo. So if yours is like a virus rather than voodoo, then technically it's not a zombie.
Yeah, infected.
Right, and that's where it's like it gets kind of wonky. So most filmmakers and everything have it's easier to just kind of leave it ambiguous, or to have it happen in a world where, zombies don't exist, so there is no relevance for that. But even if even if this event was happening in somewhere where it's like, okay, there is no zombie media for them to go off, common sense would go a long fucking way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thirsty bitch of a movie where literally everyone is on the hunt for pussy, so as you can tell, I'm trying my hardest to edit around the constant nudity. Since
Well, you say
I don't know if I'd call it constant, but it is pretty frequent.
it's a bit frequent, but that's kind of because most of these, they're around the same age, such as the in Siren, they're all like college age kids. They've got the horny dial all the way to max.
brought it up numerous times before, the obligatory danger associated with sexual promiscuity, popularized by slasher flicks and brought to full-blown attention in Nightmare on Elm Street, is an easy and obvious theme to latch onto, but
I wouldn't even say that's true.
So since I'm not as well versed in horror movies, could somebody translate that?
Well, okay. Arguably, Halloween, like, there's a reason that Jamie Lee Curtis is called the Scream Queen. And it's because she showed her tits in Halloween. And I would argue that movie was one of the first that really pushed the whole, like, having sex, means you die, or it became like something that really needed to be on screen all the time. But I mean, you could probably even go further back than that, and there would be other examples of movies where, because I mean, just sex fucking sells, man.
Yeah.
And
Also,
it's weird that, like, there's this sort of fear, and like the hornies and the sex and all that kind of goes hand in hand. Being on the edge of your seat and just, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, it's the whole reason that people have, like, fixations on things that are sexually taboo. They want to have sex in a public place. It's that fear of getting caught.
right.
It's also just a very easy way to get your characters into a situation where they're defenseless and vulnerable.
That too.
Did the very first Friday the 13th come out before Halloween?
I don't know, but
What are
Friday
you
the
talking about, Friday the
13th
13th?
is the one I would think of when it comes to, like, the promiscuity in horror movies, because it was actually the reason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's literally the
Jason-
narrative.
Yeah, they incorporated it into the narrative because the counselors were having sex.
But that's
while
kind of
Jason
why I
was
think
drowning
it
in the lake.
wasn't the first, is because it's almost like they were poking fun at that.
Yeah,
or they
it was
were,
almost a commentary of it, or they felt the need to justify it in this narrative, not just have it happen.
Yeah, that's why I was quickly asking if one came before the other. Because
I'm sure it did. That's typically how order of events works.
But
Well,
you can go
I
all
mean-
the way back to fucking Nosferatu in the 1930s, where it's like the whole thing was he was a monster who fed on, like, young maidens. So it was also just like you had this girl who was supposed to, like, she was everything beautiful and pure and innocent, but, like, you'd see her in, like, this very loose negligee sprawled out onto her bed sheets like she was dreaming of fucking, but she's still pure and innocent and pure and everything.
Of course.
So-
Of course.
Yeah, obviously.
As you
More-
do.
also because each story comes with its own cautionary tale or comeuppance angle related to the subject matter.
Does anyone else notice that, like, all of his footage is backwards?
I noticed that.
Oh yeah, he's got the footage mirrored for copyrightism, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's not a bad strategy.
Yeah, in fact, Jim Sterling's objectivity video, not only is it reversed, it's flipped, it's also got the film grain, because that video was notorious for getting struck.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't losing my shit.
Okay.
I thought he was maybe using like behind the scenes footage or something. I didn't know you could just flip it like that.
Yep, it is as easy as right click and then flip horizontal or vertical.
Neat.
Own cautionary tale or comeuppance angle related to the subject matter.
So I'm hanging on to that because I'm specifically with this one. I'm curious as to what the cautionary tale or comeuppance would be for helping an innocent. Well,
it's weird. I think this is the guy who does it, but he refers to like the protagonists as being like not the victims. Like he basically says it's their fault or they deserved it, and I'm like, well, that's kind of an interesting, way to look at things. Because no,
because
okay, take the siren for instance. You have this angle where these guys, they're fucking douchebags. But they're not bad people. Like, when he finds out that the girl he wanted to fuck was unconscious, he left her the fuck alone. He went to the girl who was conscious and was still able to say yes or no, and he started making moves on her. And she went along with them because she's a succubus siren monster, and she was going to eat him. But these people didn't deserve death. They were just kind of insufferable cunts. That's why we use promiscuous teenagers in horror movies. They're people that were not like really sad to see go, but they're still like just innocent enough that they didn't deserve what they got.
Right.
Amateur Night is basically about date rape, second.
Literally isn't for the reasons I just specified, but okay.
I mean, to be fair, like the best thing, if you really wanted to try and steelman this guy's argument, you could say the one guy didn't stop until his friends started being like, "Hey, dude, she's out." But
also the fact that like they set up like a hidden cam to record the whole thing, super fucking creepy and actually illegal.
Yeah, like they're definitely scumbags. There's no doubt about it. But like there is like you said, he does stop.
Yeah. He's a bit pissy about it, but he does stop. He's
well, to be fair, he's also like on fucking drugs and drunk out of his gourd. So the fact that he stops is amazing. Like, wow.
Well, even the way that he stops is like by throwing a tantrum like a child. It's like, you know what? For the few lads I've known who've done coke, that actually completely tracks. That's exactly how they talk. Coke is a shit drug. I've never known anyone who takes it and becomes fun to hang out with.
Really?
Almost every other drug makes you better to be around.
Wait, if that's the case, why do so many people do cocaine then?
Because it's fun to do. It's not fun to be around someone who's doing it, but my god, is it fun to do. From what I've heard, obviously.
Allegedly, in Minecraft.
Allegedly.
just all the layers. So no, the siren one is not about date rape. So what do you think? Let's hear what he has to say about this one.
Honeymoon is about infidelity and toxic relationships.
Is it?
See, it's interesting he brings that up though, because he phrases it like guy was infidelity or the guy is the toxic part of the relationship. It's like no, it's the fucking woman.
Yeah, it's the lady.
He didn't really imply one way or the other.
Will
because
later.
When he says
he
that, it's like, oh well, okay, I guess we'll come to that.
Mm.
But like, we get that scene where she goes to like the prospector Zoltan, and she gets this like, you'll meet an old acquaintance, and then it's going to turn out like, oh yeah, you're going to do that, and it's going to be fucking thing. And it's like, oh yeah, I'll hold on to that. And then at the very end, we find out she's been colluding with the stalker bitch who was just needlessly mean to the guy she was robbing.
Yeah. Well, because it was a personal thing. Because the stranger wasn't a stranger. That was her lover, basically. But
then what was the fucking thing where she comes up and asks them for a lift? What was that about?
Just to unsettle him, I guess, or unsettle her or something. But, I mean...
Yeah, everything about that episode is... The payoff for it just justify having had to watch the whole thing. It's really underwhelming.
I think it's not that the payoff is the problem; it's that it's not adequately. Like the payoff would have been fine if we'd have had some more information about who this is, or that it's not a stranger. Like there was no inkling that the show gives you that the wife didn't, knew who that was, or like it would have almost made more sense for the wife to answer the door, and then have her like lie, him be like, "Well, who was that?" And I was,
In
trying
fact,
to
it
kind of
would have made
dismiss
more
off.
sense to have her insist on being the one to open the door, just in case it turned out to be your one.
Right.
Yeah.
And that could introduce a whole suspicion thing, and then you could talk about how it's like about the paranoia of infidelity and how that creates a toxic relationship. If you're going to go
Sure.
for that angle, which I don't think it was.
It wasn't going for that
No.
in the slightest.
Tuesday the 17th
I think it just
is
wanted to do the whole subvert your expectations thing, because like, you wouldn't expect that the girl, is the mastermind behind this and she's the insufferable prick when they do such a kind of heavy-handed job of setting him up as an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Do they say he's an asshole though?
Well, he's very pushy about the sex stuff, and then like when he tries to divert the trip, he's diverting the trip for his own reasons. So they kind of try to set him up as being selfish.
Yeah, a
It
little bit
doesn't
selfish,
really.
sure, but like never to a point that's unreasonable. It's like
No, I
anybody who's
agree.
trying to get their partner to do something is going to come across like they're being a little bit insistent because they're trying to get someone to do something.
Right, you're literally
But it's
trying
like
to
the thing
persuade
is, he
someone.
drops it when she puts her foot down, and that's a healthy establishment and following a boundary.
Yeah,
not toxic.
And also, with the decision of where to go to with the trip, he left that to her. It's like, oh, I would love to go to Vegas, but at the end of the day,
Yeah, and he posed it as a question. That's the opposite of toxic. That's what you're supposed to fucking do.
Nope.
Second honeymoon is about infidelity and toxic relationships. Tuesday the 17th is a don't do drugs tale.
Is it?
Allegedly.
What?
That's what he's claiming.
Don't do drugs or the glitch man cometh? What the fuck is that got to do with anything?
Yeah, baby. Glitch man coming to get you.
Right as he's getting stabbed, in the forehead, we just hear, "Remember, winners don't do drugs."
Yeah, well, obviously, didn't you see the one guy was wearing a Dare t-shirt?
Was it actually a Dare one?
No, I'm just fucking with you. That
No.
would be heavy-handed. If they really
Just
wanted to do
getting
the
your
whole no
intestines
drugs,
pulled out, like, I shouldn't have smonked all of that dank weed.
The sick thing that happened to...
it's like, oh no, I'm getting my comeuppance.
It's the fear. Even though
That guy with a crack pipe in his mouth, he was just like, I deserved this for doing drug.
And then just bleh.
Ships. Tuesday the 17th is a don't do drugs tale. The sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger is an allegory about mental illness.
Wait, what?
Is it though?
No. It's not an allegory or anything. Something happened to her, so she has a mental illness. That's not an allegory. It's just a thing happening.
Whatever. He said it was an alligator. It's an alligator.
What the fuck is he talking about?
Guys, I got it. My interpretation of the sequel trilogy is the rampant spread of capitalism and how we need to burn it all.
Capitalism bad.
Oh wait, that actually happened in the movie. Shit.
That's how you do alligators, right?
As a matter of fact, yes.
3198 has a bit of a stranger danger concept, I guess, and tape
Has a bit of a
fucking
stranger
reach.
danger concept, I guess. This is like the most piss poor possible argument that a thing contains the themes you argue that it does. It has a bit of a thing going on, I guess.
If anything, I would argue that it's like it subverts the whole they went back and saved her. Died.
Yeah. Although I think the idea is like it was stranger danger for them because they trusted a stranger to invite them to their house for the party, I guess.
What is it? Is that how that works?
I thought, well, the weird thing is them realizing that they're in the wrong house takes way too fucking long.
Yeah, it is like blatantly fucking obvious very fucking quickly.
Especially when they get inside and it's just so quiet. I'd be like, oh, this is either a dead party or this is not the house we're supposed to be in. Let's turn around before we get, like, charged with
Or
trespassing.
even if it is the house you were meant to be at, it's clearly a house you don't want to be at. So fucking leave. And apparently there's a whole ass cult ritual happening in the attic, but nobody hears it until they actually go into the attic.
Yeah,
Technically, it's an exorcism.
Is that what was happening?
Oh, I
Because
said
it
that
doesn't
she was.
actually
That's
tell.
what's happening. Yep.
Oh, I thought ritualistic, like, sacrifice.
Nope. She
Well,
she
I
was the
thought it was
baddie
like-
the whole time. That's the
Oh,
thing.
I got
That's the
that.
twist.
I got that it was like she was the one causing it to happen and they were actually trying to stop it. But I didn't get exorcism from that. I thought it's like, oh, they thought she was being sacrificed, but really the thing
Well,
was
yeah,
getting bound
our
in her so that it could be killed. And then when they took her away, the thing was able to win, so it got her and them.
Do exorcisms normally involve stabbings?
They can.
Yeah, I mean they can.
I did not know that. When I think exorcism, I think just put the cross their forehead and start speaking
Oh, you
Latin.
mean Reverend Dr. Uncle Ruckus? That's how you think they go?
As a matter of fact, yes. And I would say the quote if that wouldn't immediately get us, like, if that wouldn't immediately
I'm
get
pretty
us
sure most of
removed
us can
from
quote that
YouTube.
entire scene. Anybody who's seen Boondocks can quote that entire fucking scene. It's great.
56, which serves as the framing narrative, is just don't be a dick. Although you can
Are they being a dick? I thought they were a reflection of behavior that had become increasingly normalized.
Yeah, he just contradicted himself.
No, it's just allegory, guys.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
How could I have been so blind?
refer to my original
I know,
point in
it's
the
hard to
opening.
understand. It's like irony.
Oh no.
It's like Iron Man.
All of
Americans don't get it.
Now I just need a picture of an alligator wearing an Iron Man suit. It's
Okay.
like writing,
was-
man.
How has no one done that after the introduction of Alligator Loki? How come no one's made like alligator versions of the Avengers now?
Well, technically,
I
there are
absolutely
animal
think they
versions
have.
of the. Yeah, there's already animal versions of the Avengers. There's
Yeah.
Throg. Thor is a frog.
Right.
The Spider Ham. There's. I forget what the Iron Man one is, but they exist. They're alternate dimension things.
Yeah.
these ideas come across when you actually look beyond the concept itself and consider who or what the true villain of each story is.
Hold on, no, you fucking showed, you blurred the, like, stump, but then the fucking head just rolls on by.
Yeah,
Itself,
see, here's where we get into him talking about the villains of each story, and it gets a little tismy.
Sorry, it's just that reminded me of, remember when CinemaWins, blurred the, he blurred the blood splatter from when Joker shot Murray in the face, but then
No, he
covered-
blurred the gun shot, but not the blood splatter.
Oh yeah, it was the opposite. Sorry.
Yeah. What you said almost actually makes sense as a thing for someone to do. No, he did the opposite.
Can't be having that, yeah.
And that's just what that reminded me of. Just like, I can't show the stuff, but the fucking severed head.
and consider who or what the true villain of each story is. In
He's
amateur
going to
night,
get some of these absolutely incorrect and backwards, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Fuck's sake. None of them were that deep or complicated. You really shouldn't be able to get these wrong.
Just wait for it.
our protagonists are three utter pieces of shit who use a hidden camera to film their own amateur pornography, which more or less becomes attempted rape when they invite two
Okay, no. First part, yes. They try to use a hidden cam to record their own fucking amateur porn. Creepy, scummy, deplorable.
Against the law.
With you so far. It basically it becomes basically rape No.
Well, he said attempted rape.
Attempted rape. No.
No.
Two inebriated vulnerable girls back to their motel room, and the guys get their comeuppance in the form of
That was an interesting way to phrase.
Yeah. They so
That was some poisoning of the well. Like, wow.
We're shown like the actual process of how like the main girl, the more talkative one, it's like she's right there with them. It's like she wants to go through with this, but she passes out because she's so drunk. And so he doesn't go through with it. And he's pissed off and he's throwing a bit of a childish tantrum that he doesn't get to have sex. But he's doing that because, oh, she's fucking unconscious. I can't have sex. And just the fact that he takes that as an absolute given means it's like, okay, there's clearly some level of moral fiber there.
Yeah, and the only his kind of like, oh, I don't get to have sex, kind of does make sense in his drug-addled state. It's like, I was so ready, and now it's just a no. Fuck. That's a I need a minute to calm down with that type of shit.
vulnerable girls back to their motel room, and the guys get their comeuppance.
The girls are vulnerable. Like, they're inebriated and vulnerable, and it's like, are they? Because I wouldn't exactly describe the quiet one as vulnerable, you know what I mean? It's almost like, man, that comes off as him being sexist.
In fact, you know what? You need to take that clip from the car where she's talking. I mean, it's a drunken rant, and none of them are really very coherent. In fact, I think they might have actually been drunk for that scene because they just nailed the way drunk people talk a little bit too well. But it's like, she's like, no, yeah, it's like, I'm a grown-ass woman. If I want to be here, I want to be here.
That's actually incredibly based.
Yeah.
In the form of a succubus who proceeds to rip their dicks off.
Well, she only ripped one of their dicks off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but somehow she's the victim? I don't understand what he's trying to say here, because I feel like if he thinks she's the victim, he missed the boat.
Yeah. Also, we kind of thought that was funny, where it's like, you don't like me? It's well, you kind of still have the blood of my friends kind of all over you. It's
also my broken fucking arm.
Yeah, so
your
nothing.
Barbed wire teeth on my cock. It's like there's a lot of things here that aren't quite doing it for me.
Yeah, so, some parts might not be functional right now.
Don't kink shame the succubus, okay? Maybe that shit turns around. Maybe that's what she's into. But either way, she gets very mad very quickly when her feelers get hurt.
Yep, and then drags him off, either to eat him or do other things.
She drags him off into the sky, and then we see the camera fall, and presumably him with it, but it's hard to say.
No, I thought the camera fell because the camera's on the glasses, so he lost the glasses, but he continues to be carried away. That's the way I interpreted that.
That's how I interpreted that as well.
Well, either way, he's fucked.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Second Honeymoon, a couple have a tense trip across America where the boyfriend is exposed as a...
Is it tense?
Hold on, the boyfriend is exposed as what? I need to hear this.
A couple have a tense trip across America where the boyfriend is exposed as a selfish prick who clearly doesn't care for or even trust his girlfriend.
Wait, where are you getting that from?
What?
See what I mean?
Is it talking about... Oh, is he talking about the wallet?
Well, technically, she did steal the fucking thing.
Yeah. He was right in the end, but that's not really the point. The point is, like, the conversation about the wallet is actually really realistic. Like, fucking, my parents have this exact fucking argument like 3 times a month. Like, okay, I absolutely was certain that I had thing in place. You're the only one who could have or would have moved it, so surely you must have. And then the other one's just like, well, I fucking didn't. So either it was never there, or you're losing your mind. And it just goes back and forth like that for a few minutes until they find out, like, it was where neither of them planned. It was under the fucking couch or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a normal argument that people fucking have all the time.
or in my case, moved it around and completely forgot I even moved it.
Yeah, you moved it. You put it somewhere you would remember it, and you forgot where that was. So now you're looking in your wallet, like, where the fuck is it? You must have moved it. It's like, I didn't move it. Well, I didn't move it. It's like, are you sure you didn't move it? Are you gaslighting me right now?
Black leather wallet, black leather desk cover. Yeah, my wallet gets lost plenty of times. I'm like, oh shit, because it just blends right in.
It's how you end up walking into the living room, looking at your girlfriend with your own jeans in your hand, not actually on you where you should be wearing them, and pointing at them. It's like, did you take my wallet out of these? It's like, no, why the fuck would I do that? It's like, I don't know, did you buy something? It's like, yeah, the argument they have is just like so true to life that it just went completely past me. It's like, yeah, this is just how people talk. Two people who simultaneously have reasons for thinking they're absolutely correct, button heads. It's the most average, normal, boring thing in the world.
Well, and if anything, she is like, when you first see the scene, you could argue she's not lying as far as she knows, but she is. And the reveal, the twist is like, yeah, she absolutely was lying. She knew the whole. She was just doing
so convincingly that even after looking at her, like, he gives her the proper fucking eyes, and he's like, all right. It's like, okay, maybe I forgot to fucking withdraw the money or something. I don't know, but I was fucking there. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of goes quiet as he tries to figure it out himself because he believes her.
Yeah.
Because he trusts her too much. That's the real takeaway from this movie. We find out that this guy's an absolute cuck who should have trusted his girlfriend less.
Is presented as a twisted irony where it's revealed that a stalker following them throughout is actually his girlfriend's lover, who then proceeds to violently murder him. Tuesday the 17th.
So that was it. It's like he's selfish, therefore deserves to die.
Okay.
Well, even then, it's like in the payoff of that one, and I've harped on the payoff a few times now, but it's really just that the girlfriend and the lover are psycho. That's it. That's all there is to it. And considering how we've built up their relationship and gone through all this with them, and we've broken it down, and we've seen the mounting creep of like, are we being followed? Was like, what the fuck is this? There's this strange girl who's just outside our fucking motel room window. You build all that up, and it's just like, oh no, yeah, it's just crazy bitches being crazy. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. Bit underwhelming.
No, it is one of the weaker entries.
I'm curious as to what he'll have to say about this one.
Clearly a play on Friday the 13th, which I think is by far the most interesting concept, has this killer glitch that begins appearing after the group uses.
Fuck you! You censored that throat slitting, but not the fucking husband being stabbed. Is it a husband or a boyfriend? Because I swear he's wearing I could have sworn he's wearing a ring on his left hand.
Either way, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the point being is that you censored this one, but not the actual being stabbed and blood shooting out of his mouth. The hell? I liked it with your fucking censor.
Concept has this killer glitch that begins appearing after the group uses drugs.
Okay,
granted,
you've just done like the logical fallacy thing. You've just done ad hoc ergo propter hoc. He also arrived after they sat down next to a lake. So is the message of the thing, don't sit down next to lakes? He arrived after they were there and one of them got naked. Is the message, don't get naked? It's like, he's the one who's connected drugs to this thing. No one else.
Also, oh no, is this an anti-camping allegory? If so, I won't fucking stand for that. I will go camping right now.
I'm taking a major leap of faith with this one because the twist is a bit more narrative heavy. Essentially, one friend reveals that she lured the group as bait to track down and kill the glitch for murdering her previous friends.
And she did so in like the most retarded way imaginable. If like, considering that we get revealed that this is actually her battle plan this whole time, her battle plan is fucking stupid.
Yeah, her battle plan, which includes using her friends as bait and then is using traps, and when one of those traps goes off, to sprint right at the killer.
Without a weapon.
Yep.
Like, for no reason. Like, with no plan of what to do when she's, like, right there in front of him. She just sprints at him to, like, ask him a question she knows she won't get an answer to, and then sprints in the opposite direction again. It's real fucking stupid.
Yeah, and when she got stabbed, I think I actually did say, like, well, you kind of deserved that.
A little bit.
Only for it to end with the glitch apparently possessing her, which I decided to theorize as an implication.
Is that what happened?
No. I don't know where he pulls that from, because it literally shows the cutting her fucking open.
Yeah.
She's dead.
Yeah, she's dead. It's like she brought these people as bait to fight this thing and lost. That's the story.
Yep. I don't know where he's getting I mean, I guess maybe when she convulses, but there's any number of reasons that can happen.
Also,
Well, yeah, and we're given no explanation nor reason to believe it's possession.
Nope.
And if his reasoning is that there's glitchy shit on the screen, I'm gonna have to smack a motherfucker, because there's always glitchy shit on the screen. These movies never have clean footage ever. Even those like old camcorder footage, at least some of it was clean. Some of the time, you know? It wasn't all like this.
The Glasses had pretty clean footage.
Yeah, that's true.
She was the killer this entire time because drugs are bad and make you crazy.
Where are you pulling that from? It's like, okay, I think this is just a guy who does not and has never really known people for whom weed is just a normal thing. But like, a group of friends go out camping, and like by the time you turn around, one of them's already got a fucking blunt in their hand. It's like, yeah, that just kind of checks out, especially among any group of like 16 to 26-year-olds.
I mean, it's not technically the most uncommon concept.
Yeah,
My
no shit. They
That was
literally, like, the green outside of where I went to college, it just looked like that. People vibing on their lunch break, having a quick smoke.
Theory about the sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger actually emerged from the title itself. This one shows us a series of video chats between an anxious girl called Emily and her boyfriend James as she begins to grow noticeably unstable, and she ends up self-harming and talking to mysterious voices within her apartment.
okay, so you've summarized it. Something that...
It's more
Hold on.
like she's got like a schizoaffective disorder, but real. That's the horror thing.
Yes.
The concept is just, what if like the schizophrenic girl was actually right about what she was suspecting, and this whole time the boyfriend who was like comforting her and trying to be there for her and assure her that, you know, these are hallucinations, you know, we're going to get you help, we're going to get you the medication you need, you're going to be fine. It turns out like he was actually in on it the whole time. That's the horror.
Also,
But he keeps alluding to this horrible thing that happened to her as a kid, and that like almost doesn't even come up in the thing. It plays
doesn't.
so little part in it.
I'm trying to... there's a statement he fucking said. Oh yeah, it's weird how he's summarizing this one, and he's kind of like... This might just be me. It feels like he's summarizing this one more than... He's put more effort into summarizing than he has for the others.
I think it's just because he's trying to make more sense of it.
Okay.
You know for a fact a twist is coming, but it does a great job at selling Emily as someone who is mentally ill and possibly having childhood trauma, eventually being diagnosed as schizoaffective.
Possibly has childhood trauma? I thought all of this was about the horrible thing that happened to her as a kid that makes it an allegory for mental illness. Don't you think there would be more than just implications if that was the case?
The gist that I got from the title was that whatever it was where she was either abducted or wherever the aliens interacted with her, that's what happened when she was little.
Yeah. It's like that would actually connect the dots and make some kind of sense.
So the fact that she's mentally ill, it's like, no, she's not being told she's mentally ill.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's the schizophrenia, but actually real. What if, like, she was convinced that she was mentally ill, but the horror of what she thought she was seeing was actually real this whole time? Dun dun dun. It's like, boom, horror movie. So I feel like this guy's trying to make it more than it is, and in so doing, accidentally made it infinitely less.
Effective to explain her delusions, mood swings, and strange behavior. Yet the twist is that her boyfriend James was monitoring her this entire time, as she is the unknowing host of alien babies, and James is in charge of monitoring several different hosts manipulated into thinking their lives are free will, when they're in fact controlled by the boyfriend.
Okay.
Another theme of toxicity, you could say.
Wait, is that a theme of toxicity? Or is it just a toxic situation? See, I think this guy's whole thing is that he's going to be reaching for themes a lot, because he kind of needs them to feel justified in his analysis, when he really doesn't need them.
Yeah, he doesn't need them in the
The
slightest.
things he's saying can be true and valid without there being a thematic through line between the movies.
However, October 31st, 98 is the one short to dismantle my theory, because I really have to reach far to thematically twist it to fit my narrative, but nonetheless,
Wow.
But nonetheless, I'm gonna.
it still maintains a relative consistency to the core premise of VHS.
Wait, hold on. For okay, motherfucker. What you said to the core premise was...
I love it when you like something just caught and I feel like your eye just twitched. Like, hold on a fucking second.
Like, do we even remember what he said the core premise of VHS was?
No, I don't. That's so. He's
Because he didn't actually provide a core premise. There is no core premise. He's the one who just admitted he has a narrative that it's about these things. It's about, like, things that have become normalized in the social media society. But, like, that's not a core premise. He has stuck that label onto it and is treating it like it's the core premise, but it's really not. And now he's finding that his own idea of the core premise is being challenged, and he's like, oh wow, yeah, I'm actually going to have to stretch to make this one fit. But no, the thing I said that was is still absolutely correct, though. Everybody should still take me very seriously. I am very intelligent.
Huh.
3198 ends the film with a dramatic crescendo by using more prominent visual effects when it turns out that the haunted house attraction that a group of friends think they stumbled into is, would you believe it,
Wait,
actually haunted
house attraction? They thought they were going to a party and found an empty house.
Yeah. What the fuck?
by a poltergeist. Again, the twist is very simple. The group think the cultists they discover in the attic are the villains and rescue the girl, only for it to turn out that the cultists were actually performing an exorcism and the girl ends up killing all of them. Like I said, you could interpret it as a don't trust strangers concept.
Could you?
No, no, you fucking couldn't. This is fucking weird, and he's reaching.
I mean, he clearly did, so you clearly can, but, like, you shouldn't, because you have almost nothing to base that on.
And yeah, it's insane levels of fucking reach.
Because you can never judge a book by its cover. It all...
I bet he was really fucking proud of that, actually. He was, because you could never, like, if it's stranger danger, you could use the phrase, you can't judge a book by its cover.
I mean, you could almost apply that a lot more straight-facedly to the first one, to Siren, because you think that these guys, you know, the kind of guys who would record women having sex without their consent or knowledge, these are going to be the sexual predators. But oh no, the innocent, nervous-looking girl is literally a predator that feeds by way of luring in their prey with sex.
Yee.
Spirals back to tape 56. What's left is an archive, a legacy, if you will, one that preserves.
Wait, hold on, a legacy, if you what?
A legacy,
Phrases
if
like
you will.
"if you will," they don't really belong in any kind of casual speak. It's something you'd say in like academic language when you know that something is kind of being presented as an assumption. It's like saying for the sake of argument. It's like you don't say that in casual discourse. You say it when you're actually trying to make an argument because you're like, okay, I know the premise is going to be slightly stretched like that, but just for the sake of this, we'll assume that X is Y. Just for now. Even though we both know that it isn't actually quite the way things work. So it's like, if you will, I don't know. It's just one of those filler phrases.
So a coherent sentence, if you will. That's what that is.
If you will allow me the courtesy of misrepresentation, apples are indeed not oranges.
Holy shit.
Ugliness, a lens into humanity's broken shell. Sure, VHS at its core is a nostalgic reminder of a simpler time in horror cinema, but it's possible to perceive it as a profoundly consolidated symbol of the genre in modern times.
It's a lot of wormy language. It's possible to perceive it as X, therefore I can just fill in whatever random crazy shit I want, and you can't actually argue because it is possible to perceive it as X, given just how broken the human mind can get while still having a walking, talking person in there. It is possible to perceive this movie as a plate of finely crafted fucking cheese. It's a nothing sentence that doesn't mean anything and doesn't add to an argument.
Because, like with any home video, our efforts to record and contain truths and actualities are not impenetrable to distortion.
Is that what people are trying to do with home video? I thought it was just to, like, remember shit.
Yeah, don't you know, I plan to use all my home videos to upload my sick YouTube compilation.
So that you can observe and perceive reality?
Yes. Thank you for coming to my my numb FMV compilation. Here we go.
And erasure, whether they're the things we wish to cherish and hold onto, or things that, in retrospect, we'd wish to forget.
What?
What?
we both just got hit with a nothing sentence, and we both just like, what the fuck are you saying?
Is he talking about the movie? Is he talking about the concept of recording things? Is he talking about just like the fucking camcorders? Is he talking about VHS tapes just as a thing? Or is he talking about like what these things evoke in us as regards to like nostalgia for old horror movies? Things that like we want to remember and things we wish we'd forget? What? I wish I'd forget like gratuitous titties on screen because they don't really add anything, and I find that kind of fan service particularly exhausting, but I don't wish to forget them. Nor do I think they've actually gone anywhere. They're not really part of a bygone era. So it's like, whatever way you try to interpret that sentence in your head, it comes out as fucking gobbledygook.
Yeah, it really does. Oh wait, that's the...
Yeah, man, tits never go anywhere. They're fucking eternal.
Is that really just like a... Alright. That's the end of the video. Nearly a whole...
Yeah, I told you there
sure
was some
did say a lot of
words.
words.
Yeah, he said some things.
I threw the cover up.
I don't know how many of them actually mattered, but some shit.
Oh, wow. Only 282 people disliked this.
I mean, let's be honest, it's YouTube. The ratio of likes to dislikes it's like always 99 to like 95% likes. So if you ever dip below that is when you're in trouble. But considering his audience probably just eats up all of this because they just like the way he does his voice narration, yeah, it's fine. It's what we've come to expect.
I'm just curious as to what his other videos are. He's got something about the crazies. Vacancy 1408, the butterfly effect.
I mean, my problem is he's probably got.
Okay, you remember yesterday when you were talking to me about like this
Fuck.
the fucking thing, and I thought, oh, that's that movie about the haunted hotel room or some shit, isn't it? And you're like, no, dumbass, it's about like the making of The Shining or something. 1408, that's the movie I was thinking of.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Sorry, just triggered like a memory thing. It's like, fucking, that's the thing I was talking. Yeah.
House of the Haunted Hill.
The sad part is I'm sure he's got a lot of videos on I've never seen, but based on his take on a movie that I have seen, I don't think I can really trust his opinion.
Well,
You know
I
what I mean?
almost want to like see his video on a movie I've seen that I know is very simple, just so I can see what wild fucking shit he's about to say that it's really about. Like Snakes on a Plane, that's going to be about like the toxicity of existing in a corporate system of like society with the fucking duplicitous machinations of the blah 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 fucking theory.
I mean, there. Hold on. You joke, but I'm literally looking at one that I'm very curious. Exploring cinema's bleakest depiction of dragons. He literally does
Snakes on a Plane.
I don't know, Rain of Fire.
Well, okay, just on the title alone, it's a very bleak depiction of dragons, but they're fucking monsters of myth and legend. Everything about them has always been bleak. And in Skyrim, don't they literally signify that the apocalypse is happening?
Yes, it's considered the end of the world.
So, like, the bleakest depiction of dragons? I don't know.
Seems like a bit of a stretch.
In fact, Alduin literally cannot be killed unless you go into the afterlife and destroy him there.
God, spoilers.
God. So, and then the one they're talking about is revisiting the failure of Snakes on a Plane. I've never seen Snakes on a Plane. I've seen that memed to death scene of the tired of these motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking plane. Or, hold on, I'm trying to remember the heavily censored.
It's very like cheesy horror, I guess is what you would call it. But I mean, it's not good by any means. It's just not.
Look, I've seen it. And the things that make fun of it, I remember better. To the point now where I see Snakes on a Plane and I'm remembering something, I actually have to ask myself, like, hold on, is that from the actual movie or is it like a parody something? It's been parodied better than it was made.
So the beauty and horror of the time machine.
I mean, both of those things are in that story.
Are there? I don't remember the time machine having a that scary moment.
When he goes into the far future and he sees the downfall of humanity happening around him, and like the planet ends, and when he emerges from the machine, all he finds is slavering monsters that rape and pillage and murder everything. It's pretty fucking horrible and bleak.
I forgot about that. When it goes that far forward, I was like, right.
Yeah.
He's got one on Blair. Are the Blair Witch sequels actually good? I don't know.
No.
I mean, the first one wasn't great. Sequels usually aren't better than the first one. VHS being an odd exception, actually.
I think it's like by the time they got through the first one, they'd actually like gotten it together how to make it. So then when the next one came around, it's like it was just so much better put together. I think in the first one, they knew that it was going to end up as an anthology, but they didn't make each individual part with anthology in mind, which is why we had that problem of each new story goes back to the very beginning of the long, slow build-up, which was a big problem. So yeah, I can see how and why the sequel ended up being better.
Was Don't Breathe as good and in parentheses and important as you remember?
I don't remember that movie. Actually, I don't know if I saw it.
It's pretty good. It's got some weird shit at the end, but it's a pretty interesting concept.
Oh, Troll Hunter. He's going to move in Troll Hunter.
Oh yeah, I remember
The
we
best
talked.
fan footage satire you've never seen.
Where does he? Which one is that? Because we're just for the audience.
Okay,
we're
down
just,
and to the left.
For the audience, we're kind of
Beside it. There.
behind the cover. We're kind of just looking at his channel in general.
Oh, I thought this was still on screen, but yeah, we're just.
No, I have the cover.
We
up.
have like all of his old videos just on screen because we're just seeing what other things this guy's made and
Yeah,
seeing like that. Troll Hunter, actually very highly underrated early 2000s horror movie.
huh.
Also fan footage.
Is the Terminator a slasher movie? I think we talked about this yesterday when we.
Yeah, my whole thing was it is a slasher movie in its formula. I don't know that it's in disguise.
Yeah, I would say it's blatantly not in disguise. Because I think even James Cameron.
But it is because a lot of people won't be looking at the formula. Because a lot of people don't watch movies that way.
He actually has a movie with a title I agree with. The Underrated Brilliance of the Faculty.
No, where's that?
Never seen it.
Bottom left.
Bottom left. I see the...
It's a pretty good horror movie. Up.
Oh, you said bottom. Okay, so the Faculty. I was literally hovering over it. Okay. Well, sorry, I thought you were talking about like the
terrifying meaning of The Descent.
I mean, The Descent. I think it's a pretty decent horror movie.
Yeah,
the first one's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I'm only talking about
that one
the
has
first one.
sequels.
It has
How do you make
one
a sequel to Woman Falls in Hole?
She gets out of hole and then brings more people into hole.
Woman falls in hole again.
But wasn't the better ending to the first one that she never actually got out of the hole?
Yeah, it goes with the so that's the original ending. Like she wakes up and it's like she never left the cave. It uses the alternate one where she does get out of the cave.
Oh, so you have an entire sequel based on the worst ending for the first one. That's only gonna be good, isn't it?
And also,
and she's stupid enough to bring people back with her.
Well, no, she is forced to go because they straight up think that she killed all the girls. And then
it's dumb.
It's really dumb.
The main takeaway.
It does. It also keeps Juno alive. Like they brought her back because the last time we saw her, she was left behind by where all those monsters were.
Then how the fuck did she live? Is she like underground Rambo now?
Yeah, she was doing some kung fu shit on them fucking things.
And there's dumb theories that when they kill the alpha, what's-her-face just shouted so loud she asserted her dominance. Oh, it's such a stupid fucking movie. Did
she to assert dominance and accidentally became like the leader of the ape people?
That's the stupid theory because there are people that want a third one, and it's just like don't fucking do it.
I think it's a very special kind of person that demands more sequels to horror movies. They're a rare breed, but where would we be without
Why
them?
does he randomly have a mummy video?
Remember why The Mummy is a masterpiece?
No, I just mean like he's got all this horror stuff and then randomly like The Mummy.
Oh, some people do count
for his channel being based on horror stuff and The Mummy being one of like the original horror things. I can see it was like why he'd think his audience is interested to hear about it, even though it's not strictly within the genre.
Yeah, it's got some possibly scary looking visuals depending on your tolerance for that. Where your threshold is, I mean.
Oh, you mean the Omega Pogman?
No, I was more referring to the scene where he first is revealed with the after taking Mr. Burns' eyes and tongue, and or when or the scene where both Mr. Burns, Imhotep, and Benny are all in that room, and he pulls off the mask. That can be kind of viewed as a bit scary.
So those were the videos we had for today, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got through them. And we got through them fairly quick, I think, because it's mostly pretty focused. We didn't have to pause Chris Duckman too much.
Yeah, the only thing I was really pausing to is when he did something really odd or a joke that just didn't quite land because it just wasn't funny.
I mean, I just appreciate that he was making any jokes. But yeah, it's like before it's like starting to wrap up, right? And I do think we should some kind of list or anything of all of the different things in the two VHSs in case there's one we haven't had a chance to like really talk about. Or
let me quickly pull up the VH. Yes, and let's just see. So we've got tape 56. That's the through line that keeps everything going. Amateur Night was the one with the siren, the succubus. Second Honeymoon, we know which one that is. Tuesday the 17th. That's the Don't Do Drugs one.
Yeah. But you see, it's the Don't Do Drugs one. No, it's fucking not.
No, I'm just doing that to fuck with you.
I know.
The sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger. Wait, that was the title.
Now here's the thing. When you're watching the movie, there's nothing in the movie that tells you the titles for all of these short stories. You are presented them just as they are on their own, which I think is better. But it does mean when you have these titles to work with, and you saw this in the videos that we covered, they will use the titles as like some kind of basis for the thing they're saying. And it falls completely flat to me because all I have is the story that was in front of me. So going into the sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger, I didn't know that whatever it was that happened to her when she was younger was ever supposed to be a focal point. So I didn't focus on it. I just knew it was like, this girl, she's clearly a very kind of like shy, anxious, timid kind of person. And the guy she's talking to, he's trying to be comforting, trying to be there for her and all of that.
And
then she does the things like where, oh no, my house is haunted. Let me grab my fucking laptop. I'm going to go open the door and try and look at it for you. It's like, fucking... Huh? So yeah, so I didn't even get that there was anything that happened to her when she was younger. And then your man kept trying to make out like it was such a big deal. It's like constantly referring to the thing that happened when she was younger. And the movie itself just doesn't. It was a weird disconnect. But yeah, we can actually...
But it's in the title, Slur. It's got to be about that.
No, the title is almost entire. It's misleading.
It's an alligator. Why? Just go with it.
Oh. Of the weakest, I honestly think Tuesday's 17th. I think that goes to the bottom of the list for
the first one, yeah, I think that is absolutely the weakest.
I would say the next weakest would probably be the second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because Second Honeymoon, very weak as well. It's just not as tismy as fucking Glitchman.
I would kind of put the sick thing that happened to Emily and like in the same, like tied for second or third, and then Amateur Night would probably be the best one.
We didn't hear the second option.
Third. I don't know if I'd put it quite as bad as Second Honeymoon. Because Second Honeymoon has things that, like, we don't understand anything. Whereas even just through sheer implication, we get something for what happened to Emily.
So, Ninja, you cut out on the second option. What two were tied again?
The sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger and 10/31/98.
Okay.
And then I would say Amateur Night is the best one.
What about tape 56? I almost don't want to
I don't even really count that because it's literally just the framing device. I don't care.
Yeah, and
they
also
do things in it as well. The same kind of like scares, the same kind of the concepts. Like you have the people
kind
and
of,
seeing
but
them
it's
through
so
found footage.
Disjointed that it's like it's hard to classify it as being. It's like I don't care about the things that happen to those guys nearly as much as like the guys from Amateur Night or
I was-
the
Okay,
guys
think
from
about the second one
10/31/98.
where, like, in the second one, it's a lot more obvious what they're doing, where the framing device, it's going to end up being just another one of the tapes. That's the idea. It's like you thought you were just seeing horror stories. Oh, no. You're in one. That kind of thing. Now, that's obviously much more explicit in the second one, where at the very end we get the reveal that the guy is actually in the act of making a tape himself.
Yeah,
But I
the
think you're
second
supposed to
one's-
get that idea from both of them, where these guys, they have the guy watching the tapes, but because of the dead old dude, they're actually in one at the same time because they too are recording themselves.
I think I'd put tape 56 on the same level as like Second Honeymoon, because this might be because of how many pauses were put in. I couldn't quite understand the through line as much as in the second one.
It's the hardest to follow, but that's just because it's broken up so much.
Yeah,
and it's out of
that's-
order as well.
Yeah, that's why I was saying like there's too many pauses for you to kind of like decently put a through line. So we do put Amateur Night at the top. I'd say the sick thing that happened to Emily when she was younger and 10/31/98. Those are pretty. They're tied for medium, I would assume.
Yeah. 10/31/98, that's the haunted house one, because that's my second
Yeah.
favorite of the first one.
Yeah, that's the haunted house one.
I think that's all of them.
But you could pull up the same list for VHS too, and we could.
No,
talk
no,
about
I'm
those
sorry.
real quick.
I meant for just one. I was
No,
trying to.
Yeah,
the first one.
I was
that's
reading.
all.
Okay, I was.
Like in my own head, I'm just
double-checking.
looking and it's like, I almost want to do the tier list thing, but it's something we would have prepped ahead of time if we were going to do that. But like,
Yeah.
I think of the first VHS, Amateur Night might be the only A tier.
Yeah. That's the clear like winner.
Then he's, I think,
Where
Haunted
are you
House
going?
is B tier. A couple of the others are C tier, and then
Yeah.
D tier.
I'm trying to. Okay, I'll just base it off the cast list, so they're all.
And then
kind
the
of on
slasher one,
screen.
that's fail tier. That it's just really not even worth watching.
No, yeah, that's a skip. So for 2, we have tape 49, which is the through line. We have phase 1 clinical trials, which is the robot eyeball. A Ride in the Park, which is the zombie one. Safe Haven, which is the that's the Indonesian one. And then Slumber Party Alien Abduction.
Oh wow, what a title! It's like
Yeah.
literally just the premise.
Yeah.
Oh, I much prefer that over whatever happened to Emily when she was younger. It's just like, that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with anything that happens in this film.
Okay, so yeah, tape 49, just going the whole framing device, much better than the one in the last movie. On its own, not very interesting or good, but as a framing device, it's fine because you get that whole
I
thing of like,
mean,
as she's watching more of the tapes and she's doing them in the order that the guy laid out, there's something phlismy happening to her. She's getting weird ghost demonism that makes her flip onto her back and scuttle like a crab, and
Yeah,
then he
she-
shoots her in the fucking head.
but tape
Oh,
49 had the epic, thumbs up.
Yeah, it did have the thumbs up
Which you
right
wanted to
before
make
the
your
guy posted his shit to Paul.
which is what you wanted to make that your avatar and get us fucking knocked off with TOS.
I mean, it's very Halloweeny, you have to admit.
it is very Halloweeny.
And
See-
technically, it's not actual gore; it is makeup.
It's true. So phase 1 clinical trials, how do
Kind of mid.
Yeah,
I think this is what I'd class as C tier because, like, coherency and just as far as the decisions people make in the movie, it kind of tracks, but I almost think it could have benefited from being a little bit longer, just so we get some more of what exactly is actually happening to him. Other than just like, oh no, yeah, you have the robo eye now, which means you're picking up Ghost FM, and the more you pick up Ghost FM, the more they can affect you and the more they can hurt you. And he's like, well, obviously I'm going to turn off Ghost FM. It's like, no. It's too late. They're still going to be there. You just won't be able to see them. It's like, but you just said that the more I see them, the more they can affect me. So if I take the thing out, they will never be able to affect me more than they already have, right? And she says, nah, then fucks him because a fat man is there. And then when he wakes up, he gets pulled into a pool and drowned, and then he dies. It's really underwhelming.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we talk about how the solution to seeing the uncle is to fuck?
Yeah, we also get no explanation for what the fuck that was about, and we're just like, oh, I guess you just make him feel awkward and uncomfortable, and he'll go away on his own. But yeah, it's also that gratuitous thing, is like, the ghost is there, and she immediately just fucking pulls out her tits and fucking jumps on him. It's like, okay, very nice tits, but I have no idea what's happening.
Hang on a second.
Also, if we're gonna like rank everything in these movies, she had the nicest pair of all that we saw.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, if we're gonna keep track.
Oh, we absolutely are.
We're
critics after all.
Yeah, we gotta do this objectively now. Gotta make
objectively the nicest tits. Put that in a Valentine's Day card, cunt.
Oh my god, I was listening to Yarp and they talk about the how to objectively rate tits.
Wouldn't that literally be objectifying women?
It literally would. Yes, it would.
So, A Ride in the Park. Such a nice, easy title for a zombie apocalypse.
I think it had a interesting potential of like the apocalypse. I haven't seen this angle, at least. This might be like an overdone cliche.
Concept is the most creative of all of them. Just because it's something we've never seen before. It's really cool and neat. I quite like it.
Yeah, it's a zombie apocalypse from the perspective of somebody who turned like on Outbreak Day.
Of a zombie. The zombie apocalypse from the perspective of a zombie. He was just a regular dude. He met a zombie, got bit. Now he's a zombie, and we're seeing the horror of things from his angle. But they kind of have this great setup, and they kind of fuck it up because he's not just a zombie. The whole thing that made the concept neat is the one thing they don't follow through on. He's a special zombie. He's the zombie who's like remorseful and mournful that he's becoming a zombie. Even though like his transformation takes a bit longer than what we see other people go through, and it's incomplete. And that kind of fucks up the concept as well.
Mm-hmm. So the point, he kind of regrets his actions, and then at the end blows his own fucking head off.
But yeah, it's just being remorseful at all doesn't work in this. Because by the time we're seeing any of this happen, we know from what we've seen in other zombies in this very short movie that by this time, you're no longer yourself. So it's not that we're blaming you, we're just seeing the horror of everything you do from your angle.
Right.
So yeah, it's weird and kind of a missed opportunity, because I think it might have been my best one if they followed through on the premise they set up.
I think they just wanted that really cool the GoPro when he shoots himself in the head and the fucking camera flips up in the air. Like, that was a cool shot. But yeah, getting to it was a little bit of a leap.
Where would you place it? Like, kind of in
I would almost say it's better than the majority of anything in one.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's probably right up there with Amateur Night.
Yeah. In fact, even in this one, because I think we have quite not as many, but I think it might be the second best in this one, because Safe Haven, I've already said, is my absolute favorite. A Ride in the Park and Lumber Party Alien Abduction, I might be tied, and then Clinical Trials drags behind.
I'm kind of, as I'm reading this, the Wikipedia thing on how the main character was supposed to be James Rolfe from the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what it's apparently saying. Adam Wingard as Herman. Originally, the part had been written with James Rolfe in mind, but had declined due to working on the Angry Video Game Nerd, the movie. If that's true, I kind of wish I could have seen that movie. Then again, I'd be too distracted with throwing his catchphrases from the show and as he falls down. Ass. Am I the only one that watched
I was never
it?
that big into the Angry Video Game Nerd, so I was like, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. But I would find it a little bit distracting that they'd included like what I consider a YouTube celebrity in a movie. It always seems weird to me. It's a bit of a red flag.
Oh yeah, so Free Guy would bother the shit out of you, because I remember telling you about that scene where there's just a bunch of Twitch and YouTube streamers just looking at him and just being like, yeah, you could do it, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that sounds cringe. That sounds incredibly cringe.
Yeah, everybody points to like I've seen this clip like floating around on Twitter where he uses Captain America's shield to stop the evil Ryan Reynolds big punch. Shows Chris Evans reacting. He punches him with a Hulk hand and then proceeds to pull a lightsaber out. It's like, oh, this is like not even border.
Yeah, I'm
key
cringing
jangling.
already.
This is just key jangling to its like maximum effect.
It's like, it's so fucking soylent. I can just imagine like some balding idiot taking an open mouth selfie next to your description of it.
So Safe Haven, I would argue.
Happened, by the way. Why did taking a selfie of consumer product with your fucking mouth open just become like the go-to pose of the consumer male?
I don't fucking know.
How did that become the thing? What happened?
I don't fucking know, man.
A lot of behavior you can rationalize as to like, okay, this was seen as like normal or cool because of this, or it's a reference to this movie or this TV show. But then you get other shit like that. I'm just like, who started that? Who was the trend setter for that?
I bet if
like,
you
who
look on
managed to do that and not look like a faggot that you're trying to emulate right now? Because I cannot for the life of me think of him.
Wow. I'm sure if you went on Know Your Meme or something, it would tell you exactly what you need to know.
I'm going to do that exact thing, actually, because I do want to know. Okay, hold on.
What if
your meme's soy face?
What if it turns out you open it and it just shows a picture of you? You started it. That's the true twist of Spooktober.
Oh no.
You're the ultimate
Hold
soy
on.
boy.
Is us recording this episode going to be the next tape in VHS? Oh my god.
Oh no!
I wasn't expecting it to work, but like typing soy face know your meme gives you the exact fucking thing I was looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, origin. On January 22nd, 2015, the news site Mashable published an article called Faux Surprise is the New Duck Face, which featured selfie photographs of both men and women holding their mouths agape. On October 24th, 2017, a thread titled The New Male Open Mouth was submitted to the poll board. And yeah, that makes sense. It was posed as like the new duck face around 2015 when people started doing it. And as soon as it made its way into 4chan, it was a meme. And that was the end of it. Yeah, okay.
You're like,
my God,
I get it
didn't
now.
recognize the original meme that fucking showed you what it was. I'm gonna put it in chat. It's like I almost feel nostalgic for this thing because
Yeah, put it in chat. And I'll show it for the wonderful ladies and gentlemen. Discord. I haven't even loaded it yet, and you're just losing your shit.
Oh, I fucking love this thing. Because, dude, you see what I mean, right?
Yes. Hold on. Let me put it in main screen. Males, females, new males. Ah! God damn it. Throw the cover back on.
Well, are we about wrapped up then, or?
Yeah,
So
I think we are.
hold
We've
on.
gone through both movies now.
Well, no, we haven't talked about we haven't really gone into that much detail about like Safe Haven and Slumber Party Alien Abduction.
It's true. I mean, I've mentioned Safe Haven as my favorite, but we didn't actually go into any detail.
Yeah.
But the Alien Abduction one first, because I think it's a little bit easier to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best written kids I've ever seen in a movie, because they communicate to each other the way like me and my idiot friends actually fucking talk to one another when we're like 13, 14. It's uncanny. And it's consistent throughout all of this, by the way. It's like, even the people we really don't like, they all sound like real people.
Your sister's hot, so's your mom. Shut up.
Literally, yes. And you get this thing a lot, mainly in like mainstream media and Hollywood and shit, where you don't know how to write bad people. Because you'll have like a racist character, and you'll show they're racist because they own like fucking Nazi memorabilia and a swastika. But you can never show them actually being racist, because that would be problematic. And you've run into this weird problem that you've entirely manufactured for yourself. But in this movie, you just don't get that. It's like, problematic people are problematic because they're problematic people. And everyone else is kind of just normal. And no one exists to be an exemplar of a particular worldview or message. Everyone is just some fucking person. And so they feel more real because of it. And everyone delivers their dialogue fucking perfectly. Almost.
I feel like I actually really liked the moment of suspense when they're shooting the water guns full of pee at the teenagers, and they go under the water, and you just see one of the aliens trying to swim up. I really liked that, actually.
Yeah, it just fucking slips in there while you're distracted by other. Because here's the thing: in that one, you're almost like more invested in just these kids trying to fuck with like their older sister's boyfriend. So you actually want to see them succeed and deal with like the threat of the fact that he's going to kick the shit out of them if he catches them. And the horror element, it just kind of creeps in from the sides while you're invested in this complete other story. That bit's really good. I just don't rank it that highly because I think it falls apart once the alien shit actually starts happening.
Well, hold on, there's a part you skipped though. When the aliens are at the door and they actually call the cops.
Yes, they
and get the gun.
What happens in? There's another one as well where like shit starts going down, and by the time you pan up, one of them already has a phone in their hand, and you're just like, "Oh my god!" In a horror movie, no less. Holy shit!
Somebody actually making a smart decision. Oh my god!
People responding like they're actually in this situation and want to do something about it, like some kind of actual person. Fucking hell, this is revolutionary.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not.
Cops actually show up and then get like I don't know, phased out of existence or abducted or whatever because they just disappear.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh shit, that would be fucking terrifying. It's like you did everything right that you were told to do growing up. You know, you found yourself in trouble. You were alone. You called the cops, and fuck.
Yeah, and that
which
just
is why I really
because we're not seeing some. And halfway through, it's like, okay, at this point, they kind of deserve it. Which is what we do in a lot of horror movies.
I actually, on what Ninja said, like, you did all the right things, and it's still, like, it just doesn't go your way. And it's just that sense of dread. I fucking love it, actually.
Tank deserved better.
Yeah, well...
Die the hero's death.
Yeah. That actually was kind of, like... not so much like to Max's extent, but I don't like it when dogs die.
Oh, no one does. It's because of the innocence thing. You don't... Anytime you see, like, dogs or kids get killed in a horror movie, it feels excessive and gratuitous. But it's not. It's just like we have that in our heads because it's like it feels so needless. But in that case, because it made complete sense, it's just like the kid tried to take the dog with them as they were being abducted because of course they did.
And then let go
But
by
like that's
accident.
just not how. Yeah. Well, I don't even know if that's the case. I
It just
think
fell.
there's something about the beam thing that made it so they couldn't hold on to him. I don't know. There's just something about that seemed like a little bit too forceful. Because
Right.
there was no way the kid was accidentally letting go of him.
Yeah, fair enough. Where would I place it personally? So I forgot. Are we counting tape 49?
I mean, you kind of have to because,
Okay.
like, especially in this one, it is canonically one of the tapes.
I think tape 49 is better than phase 1, but that's it. Like, everything else is better than that.
Yeah. So phase 1, tape 49. Then I would go A Ride in the Park and Slumber Party. I think they're kind of tight for me.
Yeah, they're kind of tight. And then Safe Haven, which I think we all agree was the best.
Oh
of
boy.
this,
Yeah,
By far the best. Like, this is probably the closest I've ever seen to like straight up good Lovecraftian style horror executed perfectly. You know almost nothing. You presented a purely rational, almost academic approach to the subject of this person who is clearly insane, but then shock turns out, oh my god, they're right, but also it's demons and it's horrifying and I have to get the fuck out of here. But because of the personal ties I have to the situation, my mind is fucking cracking. And the final reveal of the full measure of the horror I've experienced actually breaks my mind, and I am now insane. It's like beat for fucking beat. That is Lovecraft style horror, and I love it.
It was good shit. It was
And
very
also,
good
it's like
shit.
we talk about how realistic the dialogue is. Just the interactions that like the old guy has with just the camera crew, or the discomfort of the audio guy just having to sit in a room quietly with this obviously fucking insane man. It's all so fucking real. It's so perfectly done. And
Yeah,
that
but it's
moment
like
where he
they
asked the
thought he
camera
was
guy to back up a
insane.
little bit, that had to have been ad-libbed.
Yeah.
It was too natural.
But like they thought he was regular insane, not like supernatural insane.
Yeah.
There's like, we're investigating news because like, okay, people think you're a cult. You know people think you're a cult. To put everyone's mind at ease, and also, wink wink nudge nudge, so we can get a look at what the fuck you're doing, we're going to invite you to invite us to your compound so you can talk to us. We can show people that you're healthy and relatively normal. And he actually agrees. So I was like, okay, green flag so far. But then they get there's like you see some things that are a little bit cultish, a little bit weird, but the kids are getting an education. They seem relatively safe and fed. So I was like, okay. But then it's like obviously things start hitting the fan, and then there's a whole messiah. Shit gets wild.
And well, it's like it's the Antichrist.
Yeah. Now there's the thing of like I said during that I do not understand the command hierarchy of this cult, because you have the ritual suicide happens. So first, like the women and children, they get to go to paradise first. Then the men, they all kind of go at once. But then you have like a few select men who are there to make sure that all the other men actually did it. And I assume these are just the ones who are most trusted. It's like, okay, you're definitely going to kill yourself. So I'm actually going to ask that you delay killing yourself by about 5 minutes just to make sure that everybody else killed themselves first. Cool.
Now make sure everybody else has killed themselves. He's looking around with all the possible dead bodies. He sees one person, you motherfucker, you didn't do it, and then proceeds to shoot them. Were we taken aback with the, I think you made a TARDIS joke, Slur, but I think that was just in the moment.
Well, I mean, it's clearly not a natural birth.
Right.
It's clearly something incredibly fucked up that they've tried to do before unsuccessfully. Hence the
woman with
the
her
gynecology horror we had
Yeah.
earlier on in the episode. But like, it's clearly not natural. It's a magical, demonic thing that's happening. So clearly, it's going to defy what we think the laws of physics are. It's just
Right.
ever so slightly on a tangent, a little bit amusing that something so very large is crawling out of a woman so very small.
Yes. So, with that, what did you think of the very last shot, like where the car is flipped over, he tries to get out, and then the Antichrist crawls on and calls him Papa?
I think we've mentioned this already, or was that before we went live? But I think it's fine, but it is absolutely going to be a meme. Absolutely, because out of context, it's very fucking funny and goofy. But in context, exactly what I said before, is the culmination of the horrible experience he's just had and his personal connection to it, hitting him all at once and breaking his fucking brain.
Mm-hmm.
Still gonna use that as a joke, though. Holy shit.
I was going to say, me as the demon and Egg as the as the main character man.
And fucking Wyatt being like, he sees this guy losing his shit, and he's like, blow your fucking nose.
I'm a weirdo when it comes to that. I very much am just like, I just see somebody with a runny nose. I just want to be like, stop that. It just like, no, I get it. Yeah, there's other priorities in that moment, including losing your fucking mind.
Crying their eyes out. Like, if you cry that much, your nose gets runny. It just what happens. And when you're just fucking losing your mind, you don't care that your nose is runny. You're just fucking dealing with whatever you're dealing with.
Well, yeah, literally all of his friends just died, including the chick he was fucking. And yeah, he just witnessed a whole.
Oh yeah, he witnessed the birth of the Antichrist.
Yeah, it's like this fucking demon just came out of the chick he was banging. It's like, oh, okay.
And then called him dad. It's like, oh.
Yeah, they called him dad. It's like, oh.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just part of this journey now. Since I kind of, for some reason, have been doing this with all the anthologies we've looked at. So we know, Siren is based off the ones from Amateur Night. Are there any ones you guys would watch like a full movie about?
I've said, and I'm gonna come at this with the same weird, awkward angle I came at Love, Death, and Robots with. It's not necessarily which ones were my favorite. It's the ones that I think would have benefited more from there being more of it.
Yes.
Because, like, obviously, it's like, my favorite one is my favorite because I think it's the one that's perfectly sized for what it is. Whereas the one I would think benefits more from being longer is the one I think needs more added to it. And that would be Clinical Trials.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I almost, I'm trying to think of what direction it could go in, what does it turns out the ghosts actually were there, or if it turns out this really was just a visual glitch all along.
I'm almost certain I've actually seen that movie already. I can't be certain, but I can almost fucking picture it in my head of someone gets a transplanted heart or some shit, but the person they got transplanted from was like a serial killer or something, and so they're seeing all the ghosts, the victims. I'm sure this is a thing.
I think it's the visual glitch thing. I keep wanting to say Soma when it's like, no, that's just because when you look at the wham, your vision gets all fucky. Just like how when he looked at the ghosts, his vision got all staticky. So, like, but like theme wise, that has nothing to do with it.
trying to think. Slumber Party Alien Abduction was actually fine as a short story. I just think the latter half of it could have been executed better.
Would you watch a whole show about Ride in the Park? I feel like we'd almost have to not turn it into a comedy, but a lot more.
No. You see, remember, most of the things a zombie does day to day are really fucking boring. So
Right,
having a
that's
short film that's a compilation of different stages of the outbreak from the perspective of just one in the horde of zombies, that's fine on its own. Trying to extend it out further, you're going to try and stretch to fit a narrative in there where one
yeah,
doesn't belong.
yeah, and that's why I said it would almost turn into a comedy because I immediately thought of Warm Bodies. That's
But even that one was like, it was consistent across all of them, but the whole premise is that there is something in zombies that can be appealed to with
yes,
regards to like getting them to be more human again. So
and
like, through the power of love, even though they are still zombies, because, you know, of all the rotten decay they've gone through up to that point. It's like there's something in there. There's something salvageable. It's like these people, however desperate their situation may be, aren't without hope until they become literal monsters. That's your idea. It's like, okay, neat.
Sorry.
A little bit
Yeah,
cheesy.
like
neat.
I forget what they were called. Yeah, those zombies that were just literally just skin and bone.
Yeah, I think they were just called like the Lost, or the ones who just like they gave up. So eventually they just literally scrubbed and scratched and gnawed away whatever flesh they had. So they're just like these husked out fucking skeletal bone boys.
I kind of did like how
Flesh still on was like shuffling around, and this is the thing, the opening to Warm Bodies is really fucking good. Just as a comedy thing, as a setup for world building, give us like a good measure of what the zombies in this movie are going to be like. Just in the absence of any kind of prey or stimulus or anything to respond to, the zombies of their own accord will just shuffle around. But there must be some kind of rhyme or reason to where they shuffle and why. And it turns out there's just like whatever muscle memory habits they had when they were alive, they're just kind of following those. And our main guy was like in an airport at the time where people shuffle around aimlessly when they're alive anyway. So he just kind of fell into some weird patterns. And he had like zombies that he would frequently end up standing next to. And from his zombie perspective, that made them basically friends. So they would grunt at each other. It's fucking great. I love it.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite jokes does come from Warm Bodies. I feel lost. Literally, I don't think I've been in this part of the airport. Oh yeah, John Malkovich is in that movie.
Yeah, he is. He plays fucking crazy apocalypse daddy.
They are not curing themselves. I'm trying to think of other than what I must have seen more movies with John Malkovich because my brain immediately went to Mice and Men. It's like I must have seen more than that.
John Malkovich, Red,
Con Air. I've seen I think I've only seen half of the first Red. I think I was just kind of not interested.
It's kind of a meh movie. It's kind of just like a highlights reel for like retired action stars.
Yeah,
it's not that good on its own.
What about? Oh my God, John Malkovich is Galbatorix in the fucking adaptation of Aragon.
What?
I didn't even hear a whole sentence out of that. I just heard what and then just stopped.
Well, I mean, all I said was why.
Oh, I didn't hear the I part of it. It was.
He's also in Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, he's Oh, why am I blanking so hard?
Spider robot head.
Yeah. What was being John Malkovich where everybody was John Malkovich, or am I thinking of a different movie?
Oh, you mean the one where everyone was being John Malkovich? Yeah, I think that might be Being John Malkovich.
You mean Being John Malkovich?
Fair enough.
The one where everybody's being John Malkovich?
That's the movie called Being John Malkovich.
Being John Malkovich is kind of what I thought the world according to Jeff Goldblum was gonna be. Jeff Goldblum was just gonna wake up and just see everybody in the world as Jeff Goldblum.
Why would you?
That's not what
think
being John
that-
Malkovich is about.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Oh, I've only seen. That's why I was asking for confirmation, because I've seen a clip of literally two John Malkoviches at a dinner table, and the only thing they say is John Malkovich.
Okay, so
That's
you're telling
called
us
a
you
meme.
actually haven't seen the movie, because that means it immediately has to go on the list.
All
You
right,
understand
yeah.
that, right?
Yes, I do understand that. Being John Malkovich, I actually have been meaning to see that.
It's a very weird movie, but I
Not
get it.
like
this-
the meme you've seen.
That's not an actual scene in the movie. That was just a meme.
Yeah, I don't remember that being a scene where two John Malkoviches are sitting at a table over and over. That doesn't sound like a scene from that movie.
Okay.
That sounds like a fucking meme somebody made on YouTube.
It's a very memeable movie, but it's not actually a comedy at all.
Okay, then yeah, I guess it was just a meme. All right.
So, there's that.
Yeah, that was VHS 1 and 2.
I'm
Spooktober
actually quite
continues.
interested to see the Siren movie, because if it's made by the same people with the same kind of ideas, like, it's fucking good.
So you saw Viral, right? Right, Ninja? You said
Yeah.
it's not that good. So
No, it's bad.
is it just like why can you best describe like why it's bad?
Why is dog shit shit?
Well-
Because it's shit. It's really, the framing device is absolutely retarded. And I honestly don't really even remember any of the fucking shorts. Like they're not good. They're not memorable. It just tries to be the whole viral video craze.
Gross.
Yay. Yeah. And then apparently there was something after that happened that went directly to Snapchat, which I didn't even know that was a thing that movies did, but okay.
Wait, they released a movie on Snapchat?
Or a series of shorts. I don't know what the fuck it was, but whatever they did, it went directly through Snapchat.
I mean,
That
they'd have to be
sounds-
very fucking short, because isn't like the limit on a Snapchat thing like a minute and something?
I have no idea.
I don't use Snapchat. That's for the
I
young
used it
people.
for a little bit because people told me to get it, but then I ended up just not using it ever, so it's fucking deleted again.
Yeah.
But then they did Siren, and then apparently there's a new one called VHS that just came out this year, which I'm kind of intrigued by, only because I've heard like absolutely nothing about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, considering how much better the second one is after the first one, seeing the third one does sound tempting, but now that they've gotten it right, I'm worried they're going to fuck it up.
Well, with that, I think we're good to go for this episode.
All right.
So, as Ninja said, Spooktober continues. We shall be back next week. We shall